Part 99. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 982. The morning light is faint, and the sky and the earth are bright. The thick ink clouds in the sky dispersed, and the sun rose behind the clouds, shining in all directions, and the ground was a sacred golden yellow. But under the sun, it was in ruins. The evolutionists and onmyojis who remained in the eternal continent disappeared, almost in the blink of an eye. With a flick of the commander's hand, thousands of living beings are wiped out. This is the power of God. Sci-fi looked at his palm, there was nothing but sand and dust. Just now, she watched Nian Yin, Koimu Minjio, Ajalaya, Yinyeonayan, and countless people disappear in front of her. In this vast space, only the Holy Spirit realm survived. Even the pinnacle of the soul realm, who is just a hair away from breaking through to the Holy Spirit realm, cannot resist the power of consciousness being swallowed up. Silence, still silence. Yuan Mingqi squatted down next to Sci-fi, and slowly picked up the Tiankanjian sword that fell on the ground. Artifacts have spirits. As if knowing that the rotten wood and bright moon had disappeared, the Tiankanjian sword turned into a piece of scrap iron in just a short moment. The sword that was originally gleaming with cold light was covered with rust and lost its aura. Yamata no Orakai also floated over, turning its 8 heads around, chattering a lot, very sad. Yuan Mingqi stood up holding the Tiankanjian sword, only a hint of cruelty remained between the originally beautiful eyebrows. He turned his head, and there was another madness in his calm eyes, and he said lightly, "Baking." The body of Yamata no Orakai swelled more than 10 times in an instant, and the snake's body was tens of meters long. Shua. Yamata no Orakai attacked Yunsu at an extremely fast speed. Each head of Yamata no Orakai has different powers, which is very majestic. Yunsu didn't even look at it, but just waved his hand lightly. Boom. With a loud bang, Yamata no Orakai exploded in an instant. Just disappeared. Yuan Mingqi spat out a mouthful of blood, his knees also softened, and he knelt directly on the ground. The destruction of the natal Shikigami is a destructive blow to the onmyoji, which is equivalent to abolishing half of the body's cultivation. Old 5, Yueji and Hitan Jingmo stepped forward and helped Yuan Mingqi up. The Lord of Ghost Valley immediately stepped forward and stuffed a medicine into Yuan Mingqi's mouth. At the same time, Yunmen also pressed Yuan Mingqi's shoulder. A few seconds later, she lowered her hand with a dejected expression, and shook her head silently. She is the head of onmyoji, but she can't recover Yuan Mingqi's injury. The opponent is too strong, and they have already beaten them to the point of being powerless without exerting their full strength. Yunsu did not take another step, nor did he kill more people at this time. He just stood there quietly looking at Sci-fi and the others, appreciating all the emotions on their faces. He wants everyone to know. God, unstoppable. At the same moment, inside the Eternal Academy, the evolutionists and onmyojis who successfully went offline came out of the game cabin one after another, and their spirits were still very unstable. The medical personnel also quickly entered the field and began to treat the wounded. Everyone is silent. They cannot forget what they saw. No wonder that day is called the Holy Day. It turns out that God has always been in control of all this. Everyone has lost a lot. There are relatives, friends, and lovers. Yan Xing, after seeing Huo Yan Xing, Mrs. Huo breathed a sigh of relief. You are out. Where are your sister and brother? Huo Yangxing pursed his lips tightly and did not answer. He clenched his hands into fists and hammered them on both sides of his body, and the veins on his arms were throbbing violently. He was only one step away from breaking through to the Holy Spirit realm, as long as he was given a few more days. But time is not enough, and his cultivation is not enough. Yuejian pressed the log out button for him, but before he recovered, his consciousness had been taken back by the game cabin. When he opened his eyes again, he returned to the familiar Liberty Island. And Yu-Jian still stayed in the Eternal Continent. "Mom, big brother, I'm here with the brats." Yang Kai ran over from the other side, she pressed her temples, and took a deep breath. "The others, didn't see it?" Mrs. Huo staggered, and she couldn't stand still. "The cold clothes are pouring on them, they still haven't come out of the Eternal Continent." When she went to the Eternal Continent, she never expected to come back alive. She is old and has lived enough, so she has to do something for the young. Could it be that the young man was sent to die for her instead? However, at the critical moment, Ling Hanyi sent her back. Mrs. Huo also saw the data on the big screen. Did it die? The siren sounded continuously, and every time it sounded, it represented the disappearance of a consciousness. More and more names turned red, and the 3 words "dead" were added after the names. It is hard to imagine that in just a few minutes, hundreds of thousands of advanced evolutionists and onmyoges were reduced to nothingness. Xiaoyu let out a sigh of relief and frowned. With his hands on the control keyboard, he was trying to re-establish the connection with the Eternal Continent, and wanted to see what the current Eternal Continent was like. He didn't expect that he would be tricked by a little girl, who made Xiao Bai press his logout button. Very good. 190,000 people. Dean Dongfang was still slumped on the chair, his voice was inaudible. "It's all gone, it's all gone." He held his head, completely unable to restrain his collapsed emotions, and cried bitterly. Among the 190,000 people, except for a small number of onmyoges, all of them have studied in the Eternal Academy, and they are all his students. "Dean," the vice principal pressed Dean Dongfang's shoulder, his voice hurried, "there is still a chance, there is a chance." The eyes of Dean Dongfang have lost all light. He stared blankly at the deputy dean. "What chance is there? You haven't seen him, you don't know." When facing the god Yongsu, he did not lose his fighting spirit. But after learning that so many people had died, the tall building in his heart collapsed in an instant. "Dean, the game system has been modified. Our people's consciousness has entered, but the body has not." The vice president was also very uncomfortable, but he still restrained his emotions. "If their consciousness can be recovered, let the consciousness return to the body, then they can come back to life." Hearing these words, Dean Dongfang's eyes lit up for a moment, then quickly dimmed. He smiled wryly. "How to get it back? Consciousness is in the hands of God, unless you kill God, but who can do this?" Dean Dongfang quickly wiped away his tears and regained his composure. "Continue to evacuate all residents in the world, send everyone to the aircraft, and minimize casualties as much as possible." He couldn't let the pioneers waste their lives in vain. The vice principal responded, "Yes, principal." In the Eternal Continent, everything is silent. The two sides are still in a confrontation. More than a dozen people faced Yunsu alone, but they did not gain the upper hand. "Have you thought about it yet?" Yunsu was very interested. With a relaxed expression, "I can share the power of the demon servant with you, so that after the fusion of the two worlds, you will directly break through the spiritual realm." Yunying smiled coldly. "Stop talking nonsense and do it directly." Yunsu frowned. "He can't kill you, and he doesn't want to kill you." Fucking raised his head and finally spoke, "Am I right?" "It's not wrong." Yunsu raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Actually, I didn't intend to kill those mortals, but I find it very interesting to see you looking at me with such hatred and deep-seated eyes." He likes to see these ants struggling and helpless the most. "Let the others leave." Fucking's voice was calm and indifferent. "You just want to keep me, I'll stay, how about that?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed. "Ching Ching. Xiaoju. Little junior sister." Yunying suddenly turned her head, her expression cold. "Yunju, you'd better be obedient." Fucking pushed his hand away and smiled. "I'm obedient." Yunying's arm trembled. Okay, I will give you this chance. Yunsu seemed to think carefully for a while before agreeing to the condition, let them go, as long as you stay. Without waiting for Yuning and Yin Baikan to say anything, he waved his hand and knocked all of them out of the door closest to here. Si fucking turned his head again, where is my master? Oh, Ghost Valley. Yunsu snorted slightly, he is from the Eternal Continent, where else can he go? But don't worry, I won't fight them before you die. Si fucking's expression remained calm, okay, then come. You can't beat me. Yunsu tilted his head, with a pitiful and playful expression, I admire you very much, as long as you are with me, you will go to a higher world, so why fight against me? I don't need to win you. Si fucking didn't show any fear, she even smiled, I just need to die with you, that's all. As long as Yunsu is killed, the power belonging to the gods will be broken, and in this way, the consciousness swallowed by the magic of the gods will reappear. This time, she can save everyone. There is no need to be powerless in the face of the entire battlefield, like traveling back to the great Xia dynasty. Hearing this, Yunsu raised his eyebrows and sighed amusedly, to die together? It's a pity that you don't even have the chance to die with me. At this time, Si fucking had already moved. Boom. There was a series of explosions in the air. Yunsu raised his hand and clasped Si fucking's wrist directly, seemingly with ease. This seed has your 9-cost source of luck, which is of the same origin as you. Yunsu shook his head repeatedly, unless you die, the 9-cost source of luck will dissipate. That's why he asked Zhongshan when not to kill Si fucking directly after taking away her luck. Only when Si fucking dies, will her original destiny completely belong to him. But after all, man's calculation is not as good as heaven's calculation. Even a god like him didn't expect Si fucking to be resurrected after his death. Boom. Boom. Si fucking didn't answer, just attacked violently. Boom. Yunsu's body suddenly took a step back. The Lord of Ghost Valley's eyes widened, ching ching. Si fucking was also shocked and retreated, both arms were broken by the shock. But she did not fall, still standing straight. Interesting, interesting. Yunsuze looked Si fucking up and down carefully, I also want to know who split your soul into 2 halves, and made a body specially for you, to save you. You die. As he spoke, he raised his hand and slowly wiped away a little blood from the corner of his mouth. He lowered his head, the dazzling red made his nerves burn. Not pain, but anger. After being angry for so many years, this was the first time he was injured. Injured, he is still a mortal who is not even an envoy of God. What a shame. I admit that you are indeed very strong, but it is a pity that you cannot stop the sacred day that I have planned for thousands of years. Yunsu smiled coldly, the power of the time and space angels has dissipated, but this seat is also proficient in the power of these 2 laws. Si fucking didn't speak a word. She put her arms back on with a blank expression. Just hearing the sound of click hurt, but she didn't show any emotional fluctuations. Do you want to see your sister? Yunsu suddenly smiled jokingly, I have a chance to let you see her, and if you choose to stay with her, I will also welcome you. Buzz. Si Fu leaned beside him, and the space suddenly vibrated violently. In the next second, a black gold vortex appeared. There was mist in the vortex that entangled Si fucking and pulled her into the vortex with great force. Space-time shackles. In the shackles of time and space, everything is chaotic. Time is confused and space is reversed. It is a place that is more tormenting than the silent black room. 99. At the critical moment, Xiaobai turned into a human again and grabbed Si fucking's hand. Xiaobai Si fucking said sharply, go back, don't touch me. 99. Bai Jinyu didn't let go, and still held her hand firmly. In the next moment, one person and one pixie were all pulled into the shackles of time and space. With a sound of buzz, the space is closed, and there is nothing left. It's really difficult, Yun Su sighed with a dignified expression. Apparently even he didn't expect that Sci-fucking would be able to push him to the point of summoning the shackles of time and space. But it wouldn't hurt to use it on Sci-fucking. Yun Su, the owner of Ghost Valley's eyes were red, but he couldn't break through Yun Su's confinement. I'll kill you. Humph, the Lord of Ghost Valley, the Lord of Demon Abyss, the Sword Immortal at the end of the world, the Lord of Longevity Hall, the head of Yunmen's. Yun Su turned his head. I think you are one of the few pinnacles of the Holy Spirit realm in the Eternal Continent. I didn't want to fight with you, so don't force me. Yun Su, the owner of Ghost Valley's eyes were about to burst. You are not worthy of being a god, but you are also worthy. The old man sees you as a false god. The smile on Yun Su's face finally subsided. A false god. He sneered. Gigo, you really are tired of working. Okay, then you can go down and accompany them. He clenched his palms into claws and directly attacked the head of the Lord of Ghost Valley. Clang. At this moment, the sword energy surged, tearing apart the space. The wind died down and the smoke cleared. Long K sword, silver armor. Yin Huang. Good morning. Ask your majesty for a ticket. It will end well, don't worry everyone. As long as it is not over, the ending will definitely stop somewhere. Everyone will feel stuck. I also have difficulty finishing it myself, and my head is bald. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 983. The sword energy is still surging, converging with the turbulent flow of space, surging wildly. This sharp sword struck directly at Yun Su. Who? Yun Su took a step back abruptly, avoiding the sudden attack. He raised his head, his eyes were cold and cruel. Besides Sci-fucking who can barely injure him with a style of fighting that does not care about life and is not afraid of death, who else? The slender and tall figure stepped out slowly. The young emperor is just like 1,000 years ago, holding a dragon bird sword, wearing a silver armor, and the coercion is like thunder. Yun Su was very familiar with this outfit. His always calm expression cracked slightly. Yin Huang. After all, Yin Huang was the first person to stop the coming of the sacred day. At that time, he had just woken up from a deep sleep, and his strength was also very thin. He could only use the blood of the venerable Mang Huang to create the barbarian race, a race far beyond the power of humans in the New World. But the barbarians were beaten out by Emperor Yin. Yin Huang also established 3 alliances and 4 alliances to guard the 5 prefectures of Daxia respectively. Over the past 1,000 years, he has thought of countless ways, but he has only stolen a small part of the luck of the great Xia dragon vein. At the end of the 5 mountain guard formations, the dragon veins were connected into one body, and Daxia was as solid as gold, making it impossible for him to plunder Daxia's luck. But it doesn't matter, the holy day comes, the new world is swallowed up, and all luck is his. But the only thing Yun Su didn't expect was that Emperor Yin was still alive. Space law, space angel, Yun Su frowned. No, you don't have the power of an angel. After a pause, he smiled suddenly. As expected of Emperor Yin, he was able to cultivate the law of space to this level without the blessing of divine magic. He knew that the doors to the Eternal Continent and the New World were closed. After he expelled Yuning, Yin Baikan and others from the Eternal Continent, he closed the last door on his own initiative. But Emperor Yin appeared. This is equivalent to him successfully tearing the space between the 2 worlds. Yu Xian didn't speak a word, her brows and eyes were cold. Clang. The long K sword was unsheathed again, there was a crackling sound in the air, and the sword body burst into cold light. Break the sky with one sword. The sword strikes like lightning. This sword made Chang Ying, who is the sword immortal of the end of the world, gasp, good skills. Yun Su sneered, but didn't dodge this time. He just stretched out 2 fingers to pinch the dragon bird sword. But things went against his wishes. Not only did he not get caught, but was shaken away by the dragon bird sword. Both fingers were instantly paralyzed. Yunsu's eyes suddenly changed. This sword. Before he had time to observe the dragon bird sword carefully, the next attack had arrived. One sword after another, Yu Xian didn't stop even though his body had been corroded by divine magic. With this series of attacks, even Yunsu was forced to keep retreating. Another desperate way to play. Yunsu's eyes were stern. What a madman. Si is, and so is Yin Huang. Do you want to die? Moun, your apprentice. Chang Ying paused. It seems that he has not succeeded the position of God Envoy, but he can, be able to fight Yunsu. Yunsu is too strong. They are in the Holy Spirit realm, but they were fixed here by Yunsu with a wave of his hand. However, Yin Baikan, Ling Hanyi, Yun Ying, and Tan Jingmo were the successor envoys, but they were still not Yunsu's opponents. As long as Yunsu wanted to, Yunsu could even deprive them of the power that belonged to the envoys. Because he is God. Lord Moiwan was trapped in place, so he could only worry, disciple, be careful. They saw Si thrown into a black vortex called Shackles of Time and Space by Yunsu. The Lord of Ghost Valley was also extremely anxious, and had no intention of watching the battle between Yu Xian and Yunsu. Yunsu tore off the clothes that had been torn apart by the sword energy, revealing his strong chest. There are also mottled sword marks left by the dragon bird sword on his chest. But within half a second, these scars healed. Yunsu's eyes sank, and he smiled coldly. Interesting, it's interesting, someone also refined your body, no wonder you can be reborn. I am really more and more curious about who that person is. But no matter who they are all dead. It's just that it's intolerable to give him a hand before dying. I also want Emperor Yin's luck very much. Yunsu showed a cruel smile. I am very happy that you took the initiative to send it to your door. Yu Xian finally raised his eyes, and said lightly, if you want lonely luck, then come and get it. Yunsu clasped his palms into claws and began to increase his strength. After taking away your luck, I want you to reunite with her in the shackles of time and space. The sun was high, and the sunlight fell through the leaves and fell to the ground, scattering a shadow. Birds chirped and streams murmured. Si's eyelashes trembled, and he opened his eyes. She raised her hand to block the somewhat harsh light, and slowly sat up. Where is she? Juju, what place is this? On the side, Xiaobai also woke up. It seems to be the sunset forest. Juju, I'm a puppy again. It lifted its fluffy little paws, and said aggrievedly, I haven't worn the little skirt you knitted for me for long. Hearing this sentence, Si's expression froze. She looked down at her hands. It's her hand, and it's not hers. These hands are small, and they look only about 10 years old. Si lifted Xiaobai up and put it on his shoulders, and walked forward quickly. It was indeed the sunset forest she was familiar with. She came to a river in the forest, looked down, her expression was shocked. Juju, it was you when I was a child. Xiaobai was also taken aback. It was when I first saw you. Si didn't speak. She remembered that it was this day that she picked up Xiaobai in the sunset forest. Now it can be confirmed that Xiaobai is a divine beast of the eternal continent. Somehow he came to Freedom Island, and was picked up by her again. She is now in the shackles of time and space. How should she get out? The danger that cannot be seen is the most dangerous. Just when Si frowned and thought, someone called her behind her back. Little Cheng. Si's body stiffened instantly. She lifted her feet and found that her legs seemed to be filled with lead, and she couldn't lift them no matter what. How did you run so far? A hand pressed her shoulder, and a familiar voice rang in her ear. It's noon, Aning has already cooked the meal, wait for us to eat. Don't you want to see the surname Tan, of? Familiar voice, familiar tone. Sci-fucking's body was still stiff and did not move. She dared not look at it at all. But in the next second, the person behind had already walked in front of her. Long crow-blue hair, with a red Manjusawa imprint on the collarbone. The pupils are dark blue, the eyelashes are long, and the eyebrows are beautiful. Night turned the tide. The face that had appeared in her dreams countless times. Sci-fucking stared blankly at the person in front of him, forgetting everything. Xiaobai was also stunned. Is this the dog that Xiaoqing picked up? Ye Wanlin found Xiaobai, she pinched its ears. This doesn't seem to be an ordinary dog, it has lost its strength. Sci-fucking suddenly understood what happened to the time-space shackles. It seems that she once traveled to the Great Xia dynasty with the help of eternity and met Emperor Yin. But now, the shackles of time have brought her back to the past. This is the time when Ye Wanlin still exists. Sci-fu moved his lips, and after a long while, he struggled to call out the title that haunted her, sister. As soon as she opened her mouth, she was choked up sobbing, and tears rolled down. Why are you crying? Ye Wanlin frowned. She squeezed her hands and legs worriedly. Where did you hurt? Let me see. In a word, Sci-fucking's tears flowed even more fiercely. No, no injury. She rushed forward and hugged Ye Wanlin. I just miss you, sister, I really miss you. Aren't I here? Ye Wanlin patted her head amusedly. I'm already 12 years old, it's time to grow up. Sci-fucking just hugged her and didn't say anything. Yes. At this time, Ye Wanlin was still there, and she still had her sister. Let's go. Ye Wanlin took her hand with a relaxed expression. If you don't like Tan Jingmo, you can fight him. If you can't win, sister will help you. Sci-fucking wiped away his tears and gave a low hum. The sun prolongs the shadows of the two, and the time is quiet and beautiful. Everything is continuing to run according to the track that things have developed. In the shackles of time and space, in the blink of an eye, several years have passed. Time and space are extremely chaotic here. Yin and Yang are reversed, and the 5 elements are reversed. The most terrifying thing is that people will not feel the difference between reality and the past at all. If you are deeply involved, you will never be able to leave. It was another bright morning. Ye Wanlin put on her protective clothing, and said to her, Xiaoqing, there are only 2 of us on this mission, follow me for a while. Okay, sister, Sci-fucking paused. Memories flooded in frantically at this moment, and she suddenly remembered something very important. This is not reality, it is the past. Endless sea. Even today, after Ye Wanlin accepted the task of exploring the endless sea from the Eternal Academy, she never came back. In fact, Ye Wanlin could have come back, but in order to save her, he was dragged into the depths of the endless sea. Afterwards, she won the trophy for Best Actress in a leading role in Glenn, but Ye Wanlin was no longer in the audience. Sister, Sci-fucking's expression changed, and he grabbed Ye Wanlin's hand. Sister, don't go, let's go another day, okay? Ye Wanlin stopped and turned to look at her. Sci-fucking's expression was unprecedentedly anxious, and his heart was beating at a high speed. A few seconds later, Ye Wanlin suddenly laughed, and she said softly, You're not the Xiaoqing I know, are you? Sci-fucking's body trembled, and his pupils shrank suddenly. It's me, sister. She didn't know whether the time and space here was real or not. But even if it was fake, she couldn't just watch Ye Wanlin die for her again. Sci-fucking asked herself that she is very good at acting, and she is also very good at playing her former self. How did Ye Wanlin see it? You are Xiaoqing, but I didn't know you. Ye Wanlin smiled and patted her head. You come from a future that I can't touch, right? Sci-fucking's heart throbbed violently at this moment. She stared blankly at Ye Wanlin, completely forgetting what to say. Sister, you are more calm than the Xiaoqing I know, which is a very good thing. Ye Wanlin sighed softly, your acting skills are really good, but how could I not recognize you? She found out early on, as early as when they first met. The SI fucking she knew was always lively and happy. But the current SI fucking is suffering from the accumulation of hatred and blood. She is really distressed. How much suffering did you go through to become so powerful? Ye Wanlin stretched out his hand and stroked the girl's face. You must have suffered a lot when my sister was away. A very simple and impermanent sentence made SI fucking burst into tears again, and her voice was hoarse. Sister. This is the night. The closest relatives will never see how strong you have become, but will only see the hardships you have suffered along the way. It's me, the future me. SI fucking grabbed Ye Wanlin's hand. Sister, don't go to the endless sea, you will die, you will die. How many times she dreamed back at midnight, she blamed herself why she failed to save the night. No, you don't need to say it. Ye Wanlin was very calm. You have become stronger now, stronger than my sister. My sister is very happy, and that is enough. Si fucking was taken aback suddenly. Ye Wanlin was still laughing. She said softly, Xiaoqing, there are still many people waiting for you to save, but sister doesn't need it. You wake up quickly, okay. Si fucking was unwilling to let go, but shook his head desperately. Sister, don't. Don't be sad. Ye Wanlin looked at her. Everyone has their own path, no one can be with someone for a lifetime, but as long as they have been together once, that's enough. Xiaoqing, one day, you will go on alone. You still have a lot of unfinished business, don't you? Si fucking was startled. This is what Ye Wanlin left for her in the tape. Now hearing Ye Wanlin say this to her with her own ears, the shock she received was huge. But sister, I don't want to. Si fucking hugged her, choked up, I don't want to lose you, I really don't want to. If growth is at the cost of Ye Wanlin's life, then she would rather not. Ye Wanlin's voice was faint, and under the calm tone was the wanton madness that could only be suppressed in front of Si fucking. There is nothing in this world that can trap me. This is the real night. When he was in the Ye family, he was able to intimidate and command the entire Ye family, relying on fists and thunder wrists. Go, there are many people waiting for you. Ye Wanlin smiled slightly, my little Qing is unparalleled in the world. Before Si fucking could react, a strong force came and she was pushed out by Ye Wanlin. In the next second, the screen in front of him began to crack. Time and space split apart, everything shook, and the shackles of time and space collapsed at this moment. Ye Wanlin's temper is not good, and she is also extremely dissolute and crazy. But she left all the tenderness and patience in her life, including her last life, to Si fucking. This time, too. It's Sister Kik. Not surprisingly, the new book will be written to save the night, and then a new book pre-collection will be opened first, and it will be released next week. The opening time of the book is undecided. It will be opened if there is inspiration, and there is a high probability that it will not be opened this year. Kinking's role list is also out. Everyone remember to compare your heart. Now the fourth not far from the third. Give Ching Ching a top 3, okay. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 984. Elder Sister. In the shattered shackles of time and space, Si fucking watched Ye Wanlin shatter together with the surrounding space. She stretched out her hand to grab it, but found that she was powerless and could only watch Ye Wanlin go away in front of her eyes. Although the space is breaking down, Ye Wanlin is still smiling at her. It was still the voice, appearance in her memory, which made her unable to give up at all. The shackles of time and space sent her back to the past when Ye Wanlin was still alive, and she was indeed greedy for this past. The past cannot be changed, and the torrent of time cannot be reversed. It will only continue to develop according to the established things. No matter how many times you start over, the end result is the same. She already knew this when Sci-Fi used eternity to travel back to the Great Xia dynasty. She couldn't change Zhang Haiping's fate, she couldn't change the result that all the 9 sons of the Zhang family died in battle, and she couldn't stop Zhang Ziyu from leaving forever. But they say it's worth it. For Ye Wanlin, being able to save her sister was worth it. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, she will not hesitate to give up her way of life to Sci-Fi. Sister! Sister! Sci-Fi yelled with the last of his strength before completely losing consciousness. If one day you disappear, then can I still find you? Ye Wanlin looked at her quietly, and smiled lightly. Of course, you are unparalleled in the world. Boom! All the pictures finally disappeared, and Sci-Fi fell into darkness again. Juju, Xiaobai asked in a low voice, grabbing her shoulder. Are we out? Sci-Fi slowly wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes, and he has recovered his usual calmness. Not yet, there are more than one layer of time-space shackles, but we have already come out of the deepest layer, my sister. She tightly clenched the hands hanging on both sides, and the veins on her arms were throbbing violently. Yunsu knew the weight of Ye Wanlin in her heart, that's why she asked her to see Ye Wanlin. But he underestimated the relationship between her and Ye Wanlin. The friendship between life and death. Don't be like this. Xiaobai patted her head worriedly. Juju, sister is so powerful, maybe. Yes, I fucking raised his head slowly. My sister said that I can find her, so I will definitely be able to find her. That's the night. Ye Wanlin said yes, then yes. Fat chirp, let's go out. I fucking looked firm and walked forward step by step. The past cannot be changed, so she must hold the future in her own hands. Even a god can't trap her. In the Eternal Continent, the battle continues. Both Yu Xian and Yun Su's figures were extremely fast, and there was an afterimage in the air, so that even Lord Moiwan couldn't capture their bodies. But he could see that Yu Xian was fighting Yun Su completely in a way that didn't require his life and had no way out. Every time they fight, there will be more wounds on Yu Xian's body. After a few rounds, his body was already dripping with blood. The dark red blood permeated the silver-white armor, exuding a strange beauty. Teacher, Lord Moiwan became more and more anxious. Tutor, calm down, calm down. He also knew that Yu Xian couldn't calm down at all. Now Si fucking is missing, and I don't know which time and space he fell into. Although Yin Huang is calm and self-sufficient, he will not be moved by foreign objects. But he is a human being, and once the safety of the people around him is involved, he can't restrain all his emotions. In the past on the battlefield, he led the army to fight. No matter how hard it was, he had to consider everyone's safety. Now that he was alone, he didn't care about anything. Yu Xian's expression was indifferent, and he let the blood flow from his body, and his eyebrows and eyes did not froze for a moment. Resist the gods with a mortal body. No, Chen Jiying suddenly said, have you noticed that it's not that Yun Su didn't use his full strength, but that he couldn't use his full strength? It's luck, Fu Zhang said solemnly. Yunsu claims to have robbed 90% of Qinking's luck, but Yunmen, you should have discovered that Xiao's luck and Qinking's luck complement each other. Yunmen nodded slowly. Not bad. Two people who gather great luck should not exist in the same world. Even if it does appear, there must be no room for two tigers in one mountain. Otherwise, it does not conform to the laws of operation of the natural development of the world. There can only be one darling of the heavens. If there are two, it will definitely end in immortality. But this incident did not happen to Si fucking and Yu Xian. Yu Xian's luck is strong, and Si fucking's luck is also strong, and vice versa. The original source of luck is called the source, and it is not easy to be completely refined by others, Fu Zhang said. the part of the luck that belongs to Qing Qing will start to restrain Yongsu after feeling Xiao's existence, unless he will let go of this part of the original luck. So that's how it is. Lord Moyuan was overjoyed. Does that mean my apprentice can defeat him? No, this is just a tactic to delay the attack. Fuzang shook his head slightly. After all, Yongsu is a god. Even if Qing Qing's original luck is affecting him, his strength is far beyond ours. Only gods and demons can defeat gods and demons. But where to find other gods and demons? But it's not impossible. Fuzang let out a breath slowly, and took out the tool she used to communicate with Yunying. After a few minutes, contact was finally established again. Yunying's voice came from the other side, trembling when listening carefully. Fuzang. Nizai, Fuzang said quickly, there is not much time, listen to me carefully, go to Daxia now. Yunying's hand paused. Big Xia. That's right, Fuzang said, Emperor Yin is Daxia's belief. If we gather Daxia's luck and power of faith, we may have a chance to win. Yunying's eyes narrowed suddenly. Okay, I understand. As he hurriedly walked out, he directed Tan Jingmo, Yu Jian, and the others to contact the major forces in the 5 prefectures of Great Xia. Asking, are you okay? What can I do? Fuzang sneered, the worst outcome is that my aunt and I will die together with this false god, and I will live enough after 10,000 years. Yunying didn't speak any more. With calm eyes, he began to contact the 3 families and 4 alliances of the Great Xia Empire. The Great Xia Empire was ruled by Xiao Wenjian, the leader of the Thousand Army Alliance, and Mo Yanwen, the leader of the Mahist family. After receiving the news, they also quickly started to act. Your Majesty and Miss Si are fighting for Great Xia. For us, Mo Yanwen raised his voice, we must never let them fight alone. Let the other party know that there are us behind them, with thousands of troops. Protecting the mountain dragon veins, the power is resurgent, and it is majestic. At this moment, the beliefs of the 5 states of Great Xia, as well as the power of luck gathered, all penetrated the 2 worlds unimpeded, and reached Yu Xian's body. There are 2 updates. Please ask for a monthly ticket, thank you everyone, almost 800 votes. Qing Qing's role list is also open, the last event is over, and the top 10 popularity contribution list will give away gifts until the end of the month. 1-2, Ying Huang Physical Book Dark Star to sign, sent after publication. 3-5, Brother Ying Huang Fuse Double Pillow or Your Majesty's Double Pillow or Night Lantern Pillow, can be replaced with a painting. 6-8, His Majesty's Standing Plate in Ancient Costume. 9-10, Qing Qing, a set of colored paper for turning the tide. The pre-acquisition of the new book has been opened, you can click on my author column to see it, or just search the night to turn the tide. At present, only Xiao Xiang can see the pre-collection. Everyone click to bookmark. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 985. Just like 1,000 years ago, the 3 families and 4 alliances once again obeyed the call, followed Emperor Yin, protected the Great Xia Empire, and protected the common people. He is never alone, there are thousands of horses behind him. Thousands of years have passed in a blink of an eye, but Daxia's belief remains unchanged. A little girl tugged Mo Yanwen's sleeve, she looked up at the sky, and said worriedly, Patriarch, will we win? Mo Yanwen knelt down and patted her head, yes, that's your majesty. The invincible god of war. After finishing speaking, Mo Yanwen quickly picked up the little girl and handed it to the side guard, send her to the aircraft. Meanwhile, Free State. Under the arrangement of Dugu Changfeng and Din Dongfang, the continents entered the aircraft and flew away from the earth. Eldest brother. What should we do now? Yu Jian looked anxious, the door was closed, but junior sister and the others didn't come out. Is there any way for us to go in? It's useless to go in. Tan Jingmo's eyes were cold, I can feel that the power of the envoy is also very weak in the face of Yunsu. Raphael also grabbed his hair, very depressed. Should we just do nothing and just wait here? But waiting, it may be unimaginable consequences. No, we still have one thing to do, Yunying said slowly, pray. Everyone in the division was taken aback, pray. Raphael stammered, boss, I know you are also in a hurry, but at this time, you can't turn around and play theology. Of course it's not praying to the sky. God is useless, Yunying said lightly, but praying to ourselves. The power of faith brought by prayer will help Xiaju and the others. The stronger the belief in prayer, the stronger the faith will be. Okay, Yu Jian nodded, let's just pray that others will do the same. Boom. More and more power of faith and luck gathered on Yu Xian's body, and thunder exploded in the sky. Clang. Another sharp sword strike. But Yun Su didn't dodge the sword, and the long K sword pierced straight through his right shoulder. Yun Su's expression changed drastically. He pulled out the blade of the sword that had been inserted into his body, and retreated quickly. There's a chance, Lord Moiwan's expression brightened. The dragon sparrow sword couldn't hurt Yun Su before, but he's already seen blood. Fuzang slightly opened his eyes wide. I didn't expect the power of faith to be so strong. Yun Su's eyes instantly turned cold. The power of faith. In just half a second, he understood exactly what had happened. Whether it was 1,500 years ago or 1,500 years later, Emperor Yin is still the pillar of faith in the 5 states of Great Xia. Only Yin Huang can make people believe in willingly. These ants could actually hurt him. Very good, I can't get rid of you right away. Maybe I can't destroy your Great Xia, Yun Su sneered. I want to see how long these mortals can last. The holy day is the day when the eternal continent and the earth are fully merged. The closer he gets to the holy day, the greater his power will be. Although he is still unable to enter the new world with his real body, it is enough to create disasters and destroy the 5 states of Great Xia. Yun Su raised his hand and ordered to the whole world, the wind is coming. Blizzards, earthquakes, mountains, and rivers cracking. Goal, Great Xia was who? Large-scale disasters that were rare in thousands of years all broke out in an instant. Oh my God, is the end of the world? What is that reflection in the sky? I seem to see a familiar figure. Everyone, don't panic, with 3 families and 4 alliances, we will be fine. Everyone avoids danger. Everyone avoids danger. Xiao Wenjian grabbed the communicator and shouted, the new aircraft is in place, and immediately arrange for ordinary residents to enter in order. According to His Majesty's order, their safety must be guaranteed first. There must be no casualties. At this time, Liberty Continent, Dongsang, and Western Continent everywhere in the world can see that the 5 states of Great Xia are at the very center of the disaster. At this moment, the 5 mountain protecting dragon veins formed a large formation, resisting the coming of the blizzard. Humph, Yun Su snorted lightly, his expression extremely indifferent. A mantis is like a cart. Boom. Countless flaming meteorites descended from the sky and landed in unison towards the Great Xia Empire. Mr. Ji and the 3,000 Onmyoges of the Ji family stepped forward first to stop the meteorite falling from the sky. But the power of mortals is still weak after all, unable to fight against gods. In just a few seconds, Mr. Ji's face turned pale. Old man, Ji Xingzi's complexion changed. Old man, you are already old, let me be your boss, you won't be able to hold on. Yun Su had completely ignored Yu Xian's fierce attack, and allowed him to heal quickly after the scars appeared on his body. He jokingly smiled, why don't you see whether you broke through the defense of the seat first, or your people died first? Yu Xian's expression remained unchanged. He didn't move his eyebrows, but raised the dragon bird sword. The breath on his body became more and more majestic, and it actually affected the power of heaven and earth. Buzz. The space oscillated, and the wind and clouds surged. Seeing this scene, Chen Jiying's expression changed slightly. No, is he going to? Fu Zhang's eyes also changed. You won't hand over your move to him, will you? That's a sacrifice with your life. I never taught him. Chen Jiying shook his head. His move is stronger than mine. But no matter how strong it is, it still uses life. Boom. More and more meteorites fell, and Ji Xingzi's face was completely pale. He gritted his teeth. Damn it. He was born to be a fool, and occasionally he would go out to be a magic stick to bluff and deceive. But he never forgot his responsibility. He is from the Ji family. The Ji family was born to protect Daxia, guarding thousands of miles of rivers and mountains. Ji Xingzi bit his fingertips, and quickly formed a formation of yin and yang and 5 elements in the air with blood. How could Mr. Ji not know what he was doing, and turned pale with fright? Stinky boy. Stop. Old man, if you can still see my elder brother, tell her that my contribution is not small. Ji Xingzi looked casual. Let her remember to burn more paper money for me, I love money more. Mr. Ji yelled. Ji Xingzi. Boom. After the formation was completed, Ji Xingzi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was shaken back. Mr. Ji stepped forward quickly. You brat. Ji Xingzi's expression changed. It failed. How could it be? In the next second, he suddenly felt a majestic force of the same root as him rising up and blending into the Ji family's mountain protection formation. Buzz. With the injection of new power, the big formation burst out with vitality again. The golden light flourished, covering the entire 5 states of Great Xia. All the meteorites melted when they came into contact with the golden light. Ji Xingzi's pupils trembled, and he spoke with great difficulty. Old man, that was just now. Mr. Ji raised his head tremblingly, looked at the reflection of the eternal continent in the sky, and murmured, No, no way. Being blocked again, Yun Su's face was extremely ugly. Although he didn't expend much energy, the Great Xia was not destroyed, and it was clearly hitting him in the face. Those who could threaten him, one was thrown into the shackles of time and space by him, and the other was suppressed by him. Who saved Daxia? Bah, if you say you are a false god, you are a false god. Have you been punished? Lord Moiwan heaved a sigh of relief and sneered. If you are a true god, why doesn't anyone believe in you? Yun Su ignored the Lord Moiwan. He turned his head, and the voice was squeezed out from between his teeth. Yes, who? He didn't want to play with these ants anymore. No matter who it is, everyone will be killed. Someone came from the wind and snow, and the wind and snow could not stop his figure. And as the figure approached, the blizzard gradually subsided. The voice was unfamiliar, but the tone was very familiar, with a detached smile. Your Majesty, please stay safe. The climax continues. Then ask for a monthly ticket. The ending of this book is not in a hurry, all the pits will be filled. The pre-acquisition of Yalanlan's new book has been opened. Just click on my author's homepage or directly search for Yalanlan. Only Xiaoxiang and Kidian are displayed for the time being. I will also check the collection to set the opening time after the official update. Hangzhou and Q reading will be available. Come out, babies, click a bookmark and put it on the top of the bookshelf. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 986. The wind and snow finally stopped, and the sun broke through the clouds and shone in all directions. The visitor is not young, in his early 40s. He was wearing a very simple cloth without any extra decorations. But he exudes a detached aura that is inclusive of all rivers and all things. Behind him, there is another monk in a red cassock. It is the new abbot of Guanghua Temple. At this moment, the monk's expression was very solemn, without the shamelessness of taking the little monk's pocket money secretly. The monk clasped his hands together, and bowed to Yu Zian with great respect. Greetings, Your Majesty. Yuzian closed her fingers holding the dragon bird sword and looked up. It wasn't the face he remembered, but he could still recognize it at a glance. Chun Yuan. Yuzian murmured, his voice very soft. Ji Chun Yuan. The ancestor of the Ji family. In order to resist the 100,000 undead army pouring out of the gate of the undead, he died and disappeared. This incident was not carefully recorded in the history books. After all, it involved different worlds and the Tao of yin-yang and 5 elements, which could not be fully displayed in front of ordinary people. Yuzian had never faced Ji Chun Yuan's death directly. Only Si fucking saw that scene with his own eyes. It can be called heroic. He may have fantasized that everyone around him is still alive and has not sacrificed. But such a thought was too extravagant and absurd. He only dared to meet Zhang Haiping and the others in his dreams. In the dream, the Zhang family was still there, and Zhang Haiping stepped down from the position of marshal and retired to Jiangfu. Although Zhang Suanjin's 9 sons are away fighting, they can come back during the holidays and bring gifts to Zhang Ziyu. Zhang Ziyu can also grow up to 18 years old smoothly and do what she wants to do. Sometimes the world in dreams is so beautiful that people are reluctant to return to reality. And now, Ji Chun Yuan was standing in front of him. Like a dream that has not yet awakened. I haven't seen His Majesty for a long time, and I miss you very much. Ji Chun Yuan smiled slightly. I just woke up, so I'm late, please don't blame your Majesty. It's all my fault. The monk patted his head, very annoyed. It's too late for me to think of Master. If I had gone to find Master one day earlier, the casualties would have been reduced. He remembered that when he was Ji Chun Yuan's apprentice, it happened to be the time when he could see the reflection of the eternal continent in the 5 states of Great Xia. He didn't even have time to bring the jug, so he went to find Ji Chun Yuan according to the location pointed in his memory. It was already today when Ji Chun Yuan regained consciousness. As soon as the master and apprentice looked up, they could see countless meteorites falling towards Daxia at high speed. These meteorites contain the laws of magic. Once a piece of land in the 5 states of Great Xia successfully landed, everyone within 100 miles would suffer severe radiation. The monk is also very scared. If it is one step later, the consequences will be disastrous. I don't blame you for this matter. Ji Chun Yuan turned his head and looked at Yongsu lightly. The holy day has come ahead of schedule, otherwise, according to the budgeted day, there will be enough time. According to the established date, there are at least 20 days before the holy day will come. However, people's hearts are unpredictable, and human desires will become the biggest killer. With the help of Adrian, Yun Su succeeded in advancing the holy day, and even his plans were disrupted. Ji Chun Yuan looked solemn. And when he turned his head like this, his face was completely exposed to everyone. Yunmen took a deep breath and lost her voice. Brother. Fuzang was also taken aback. This is the brother you said you disappeared early. Lord Moiwan, Lord of Gigo and Changjing have all heard her elder brother's name from Yunmen. It is said that his elder brother disappeared early, but left his blood in Daxia. Ameng Ji Chun Yuan was startled, then smiled again. You have been in charge of Yunmen's all these years, but I'm actually not your elder brother. Brother. Yunmen was taken aback for a moment, and didn't understand the meaning of the sentence immediately. I am your elder brother and the ancestor of the Ji family. I have been a lot of people. Ji Chun Yuan sighed lightly. I have too many memories, and I am a little confused. It's you. Yun Su's pupils shrank violently. He gritted his teeth. Soul Angel. Soul God Envoy is a very special existence. He doesn't master the way of life and death like the Envoy of Life and the Envoy of Death, but his soul law can control life and death. But he clearly remembered that in order to protect the souls of the 4 divine envoys of life, death, time, and space, the soul envoy was the first to be swallowed by heaven and earth. How are you still alive? In less than half a second, Yun Su came to his senses. He sneered again and again. Okay, you are indeed a soul envoy, you didn't die at the time, but you used your blindfold to deceive me. I also lost my eye. No one is better at souls than soul envoys. As long as Ji Chun Yuan wanted to, he could fake the appearance that his soul had been wiped out. Wonderful praise. Ji Chun Yuan stood still and smiled slightly. You are also very good, you have stolen a lot of demon power, and you are stronger than before. It was also you who forged the bodies of Si and the two of them and split their souls into two. You gave them a second life. Yun Su's eyes were as cold as a blade, otherwise I would have killed them long ago. Let them live until now. Whether it was Si or Yin Huang, they were indeed dead for the first time. If there is no soul envoy, everything will disappear. But their souls were divided into two, and the remaining part of the souls summoned other souls back, and finally merged into one, becoming more powerful. In this way, an extra life was saved. The power of the soul god envoy is that after he separates the soul, the separated soul can be perfectly disguised as a complete soul. That's why even Yun Su and Yun Jin, who had accepted the inheritance of half a soul envoy, never saw anything unusual. Soul angel. Yunmen murmured, brother is actually a soul angel. In addition to yin yang and 5 elements, the most important thing that Onmyoji practice is the soul. Whether it is the Onmyoji of the eternal continent or the 5 states of the great Xia, they are all inherited by Ji Chun Yuan. Yu Zion also sorted out everything, his eyes tightened, and his voice was light. Chun Yuan handed me over to the Yu family. Oh, I'm sorry for your majesty in this matter. Ji Chun Yuan's expression turned cold. I put your majesty's soul in the second body, and my strength is greatly damaged, so I can't last long. At that time, I only met the Yu family, so I had no choice but to hand you over to the Yu family and let them take good care of you. In the future, the Yu family will definitely be able to skyrocket. This is true. How great is Yin Huang's luck, a little rain and dew can turn an ordinary family into a dragon in one day. The Yu family had indeed become the first family through his luck, but it was a pity that Mr. Yu violated the agreement with Ji Chun Yuan. The Yu family is also in decline. Your Majesty only possessed memories at the age of 16 because you were indeed severely injured when you died the first time, and it will take some time to cultivate your soul. Ji Chun Yuan said again, I am very happy to be able to welcome your Majesty back again. He was the envoy of the soul first, but after the battle between the gods and demons, the envoy fell, and he lost his power and fell into a long sleep. Later, he woke up for the first time and turned into Yunmen's elder brother. Together with Yunmen, he established Yunmen Lake and trained Onmyojis. Later, he chose to go to the New World, and reincarnated in the 5 states of Great Xia, where he became Ji Chun Yuan, established the Ji family, and followed Emperor Yin. In this last life, he was the master of the monk. In the past few lives, in order not to be seen through by Yun Su and his minions, he used the power of the soul god envoy to seal his 3 souls and 7 souls, leaving only 1 soul for him to act on. It was also he who divided Si soul into 2 halves, and stuffed half into his forged body, the body of a 5-year-old girl. The other half was reincarnated and became the daughter of Yin Baikan and Ling Hanyi. And because Si luck was too strong, no matter which body he was in, he was targeted. These years, although Ji Chun Yuan has no memory, he has been observing Si and Yu Zion. He also accepted monks as apprentices and asked monks to give them advice at critical moments. In the earliest days, when Si entered the eternal continent in the game cabin, he taught her some yin-yang and 5-element techniques. Later, Si traveled back to the Great Xia dynasty and met him who was still Ji Chun Yuan. I practiced the trick to block the gate of the dead from him, and successfully saved Dongzhou from the disaster. Si was able to travel back to the Great Xia dynasty, which was the greatest gift left by the envoy of time and space. Otherwise, the blueprints of the hidden weapons of the Mo family would be burned, and the yin and yang techniques of the Ji family would be lost, and all the things that were done to steal Daxia's luck would never be able to return to the right track. Yunsu's expression turned extremely ugly. The appearance of the Soul God envoy really shocked him and made him feel confused. He doesn't care about other envoys, but the threat of the envoy of the soul is extremely great. So what if you are still alive? You are not a god after all, not the peak of the spiritual realm. Yunsu clasped his hands and sneered, I am the god, and you are all traitors. Just kidding. Ji Chunyuan smiled lightly, calmly, actually, you also know that there is no theory of gods and demons, only the peak of the spiritual realm. It's interesting to make yourself a god and make others a devil. In the past, there were not many spiritual realms in the eternal continent. But there are only two people who have reached the peak of the spiritual god realm. These two people are the gods and demons passed down by spiritual practitioners today. However, except for the envoys and servants who had already been wiped out, no one clearly knew the details of the so-called war between gods and demons. It's just that people with a heart want to cover up the facts and spread their fabricated truth. Later, there was a name of gods and demons. It's just nonsense. Yunsu was furious, you betrayed me, and I will let you know the consequences of your betrayal. He no longer held back his hands, pulling the power of heaven and earth, and violently attacked Ji Chunyuan. Shua. In the next second, Ji Chunyuan disappeared from the spot. Yunsu's attack was in vain. He turned his head abruptly, and found that Ji Chunyuan's figure was constantly changing, and he couldn't catch the real body at all. It's not the body, but the soul. Ji Chunyuan's cultivation of the soul has reached the peak, relying on the soul has reached the level that can perfectly imitate the physical body. Yunsu's eyes sharpened, he suddenly stopped attacking, and clasped his hands in the air. Bang bang bang. A series of explosion-like sounds exploded. Brother, Yunmen blurted out, brother, be careful. Ji Chunyuan's figure was fixed, his face was a little pale, but his smile didn't change. He said softly, Yunsu, the power you want to gain does not belong to you after all. Yunsu's gaze became even more ruthless, you are looking for death. I saw that you had already taken refuge in that devil, so I plotted against you at that time. Here, only Ji Chunyuan knows the truth of everything. He must kill the envoy of the soul and write a new history. There are no gods and demons in the new history, only he is the only god. Since you say it's a demon, then it's good to be a demon. Ji Chunyuan stroked his sleeves and said flatly, if you can kill gods, why not become a demon? He suddenly lifted up his clothes, and knelt down on one knee to Yuzian, please become a demon, your majesty. The monk immediately knelt down and opened the box he had been carrying. Buzz. After the box was opened, the surrounding air suddenly vibrated. Inside the box was a mass of light and shadow, without any entity, but it exploded with energy that made even the Holy Spirit realm terrified. Fuzang's complexion turned pale, but the light in his eyes became more and more intense, that is. There was a brighter light in Yuzian's eyes, and he only felt that the light and shadow in the box had a very familiar feeling, pulling him closer and closer. This is the core strength of magic. Only the blood of the demon can receive it. Yunsu is a god, so he can naturally recognize what it is. But after he successfully killed the devil, didn't he already devour the core power of the devil? It is precisely because he devoured the core power of the devil that he was able to appoint Huang Quan Ghost Emperor and others as demon servants at will. If this is the core power of the demon, then what was he devouring at that time? Yunsu's expression changed drastically in an instant, and he sternly shouted, how dare you? Bring it to me. He gathers energy and makes a powerful attack. Boom. Boom. When the attack touched Yuzian, it was severely shaken away. The golden light was strong, and the sky and the earth shook. The light and shadow have merged with Yuzian, and the power at the peak of the spiritual realm is slowly recovering. Stop wasting your strength, the monk snorted coldly, your majesty is the heir to power. If you, a thief, want to take it, Don't even think about it. The Lord is here, how can others covet it? Yunsu's face was sullen, and his anger had swelled to the extreme. He was plotted against by the devil, Wujian. He had never heard of Wujian leaving behind descendants. He absolutely does not allow new devils to be born. It's not that I'm helping His Majesty, but that I should be His Majesty's subjects, and His Majesty must serve as the Lord. Ji Chunyuan was still kneeling on the ground, and said in a low voice, Your Majesty is the only descendant left by Lord Wujian. My lord was murdered by Yungsu, and you are the only one left. Seamless. It is the devil that is now passed on by word of mouth. Being plotted to death by Yungsu, he was also given the title of devil. Boom. Thunder roared in the sky, and violent storms rolled. Amid the upheaval, Yuzian remained motionless. He raised his head with a calm and indifferent expression. Today. Become a demon. Another hole-filling one. Continue to ask for a monthly ticket, thank you. The ending is really written, I am too stuck, my head is bald. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 987. The wind howled, and the sky collapsed and the earth collapsed. The huge roar resounded throughout the world, shaking the world of Kyushu. At this moment, the Ghost Valley, the Devil Abyss, the Hall of Longevity, the Tianka, the spiritual cultivators from all over the eternal continent can see the rolling thunder above the sky. Some were amazed, some were terrified, some were excited. What happened? Is the continent about to collapse? It's God. It must be God. This is a miracle. Heaven and earth surrender, deter all spirits. As Wujian's only descendant, Yuzian and his power perfectly merged together. At the same time, countless inherited memories came one after another, finally revealing the whole truth about the battle between gods and demons in the past. Indeed, there is no god and no demon. Yungsu and Wujian are the only two beings who reached the peak of the spiritual god realm at the same time. At the very beginning, the heights were extremely cold, and the two cherished each other. After that, with the quilt and help of the two, there were other spiritual realms. This group of spirits and gods is what is called today's envoys and servants. Although Wujian's means are decisive, but he has the world in mind, and he has the belief of all spirits in the eternal continent. The power of faith will also enhance the cultivation base and soul realm of the spiritual practitioner. Yunsu's eyes were naturally hot. As jealousy grew, Yunsu did not allow Wujian to compete with him for the power of faith in the eternal continent. So in a hangmen banquet, he killed Wujian and plundered Wujian's power. Yuzian slowly shook her fingers, and the power in her body became more and more surging. He raised his head and looked at Yunsu very calmly. The man's expression remained unchanged, flat and without ups and downs, but only belonged to Yinhuang without anger and prestige. The still water flows deep, terrifying to the extreme. Yunsu's voice was squeezed out from between his teeth, Wujian. Although he successfully killed Wujian, he swallowed part of Wujian's power. But it failed to prevent Wujian from leaving behind descendants and passing on the power of the spirit and god realm. This dragon bird sword was also made by Master Wujian. Ji Chunyuan was still kneeling on the ground. Your Majesty is the descendant of the Lord, so the dragon bird sword will naturally follow His Majesty, and has nothing to do with the old emperor. According to historical records, the Longke sword is made of meteoric iron from the sky, so after being bathed in blood, it has aura. Now it seems that this record is actually true. Yuzian raised her hand. Buzz. The sword energy surged, and the sword light turned into countless light and shadow swords, all of them attacked Yunsu. Stab. The sharp sword of light and shadow pierced all the clothes on Yunsu's body, and he retreated in a bit of embarrassment, but still blocked the dragon bird sword. It's no wonder that this weapon looks so familiar to me, and it belongs to Wu Jian. Yun Su quickly calmed down and increased his strength, but don't forget, Wu Jian is my defeater. Fight again, and he wins too. What's more, the power inheritance left by Wu Jian is only half, and the remaining half belongs to him. What can Yin Huang do against him? Master, seeing this scene, the monk was a little anxious. Back then, Yongsu successfully killed Master Wu Zhang and swallowed part of his strength. Even if His Majesty is able to inherit, I'm afraid it will only be a tie with him at most. If Yongsu cannot be killed, the holy day cannot be ended. Ji Chenyuan's eyes were heavy, but he didn't speak. Why, do you think you can defeat me in this way? Yun Su smiled. Boy, you are still young, and I have lived 100,000 years to say the least, and even your father is no match for me. How? Hey. As soon as the sentence was said, the dragon bird sword pierced Yun Su's right shoulder. In the next second, blood spurted out instantly. The long-lost pain swept Yun Su's body. His facial muscles trembled, and he slapped Yu Zian, enduring the pain. Boom. The two separated. The dragon bird sword was stained with the blood of God, and the blade trembled with excitement. Yu Zian raised her hand, stroked the sword body, and said in a calm voice, "Don't worry, there is enough for you to drink." Long K sword has not seen blood for a long time. And once there is blood, there is no one alive under the sword. I'm hurt. Lord Moiwan was overjoyed. Disciple, come on, get rid of this false god. Hearing this, Fuzang glanced at him. Moiwan, you can call God a brother and brother after rounding it up. Lord Moiwan patted his head in embarrassment. Ashamed, ashamed. What do you know? Yun Su finally got angry, and he said a little irritably, originally, the eternal continent and the earth should be one world, but the two worlds are split, and I want to combine the two worlds into one. What's wrong? As soon as these words were uttered, it was like a huge boulder falling, causing a stormy sea in an instant. Lord Moiwan's expression was shocked. What do you mean it should be the same world? Humph, Moun, do you know why even though I have reached the peak of the spiritual god realm, I still can't break the void and go to a higher world? Yun Su sneered and said, because of luck. The eternal continent and the new world split, each of them shared half of the world's luck. The world's luck is not complete, so it means that there will always be a barrier that can never be broken through. Only when the two worlds are merged into one and the luck of the world is complete, we spiritual practitioners can break the void. Yun Su looked at Yu Zian coldly, but your father, Wu Jian, he doesn't agree. The seed. I have been promoted to the peak of the spiritual realm for so long, but I am not willing to be trapped in this low-level world. Since Wu Jian disagrees, I have no choice but to kill him. What's wrong? Ji Chunyuan stood quietly with his hands behind his back. Since the world has been divided, it has its own trajectory. It is wrong for you to force the two worlds into one. Nonsense, nonsense. Yun Su was extremely angry. If you are in this position, you will understand what I do. If the world does not merge, he will never be able to break through that barrier. Why should he be huddled in the eternal continent and not be able to travel freely in the universe? He is unwilling. Ji Chunyuan suddenly smiled. I don't understand what you are doing, but if you want to combine the two into one, we have to see if Lord Jushin agrees. Crack, click. As soon as the words fell, the space suddenly shattered at this moment. A figure jumped out from the torn space. Yu Zian's eyes changed suddenly. He flew forward and hugged the girl fiercely. Ching ching. His usually calm voice trembled. I'm fine. Si fucking raised his head, held his hand, and smiled. It's just that I've gone through a few reincarnations in the shackles of time and space, and I feel more at ease seeing the real you. In the shackles of time and space, she not only met Ye Wanlin, but also met many people from the past. Lu Qingning, Yu Huixiu, Zhang Haiping, Zhang Zheyu. But as Ye Wanlin said, there will be more people waiting for her to save in the future, and she must not indulge in the past and stop. She has to come out. Seeing Si fucking safe and sound, Yoon-soo was shocked. Impossible. It is impossible for you to escape the shackles of time and space. He is well aware of the power of the shackles of time and space. How could anyone come out? Si fucking slowly raised his head and looked at Yoon-soo. Thank you very much for allowing me to see my sister again. Ye Wanlin saved her again. She must kill Yoon-soo to avenge her sister. Military Master Wei Ji Chun-yuan greeted her with a smile. Maybe we haven't seen each other for a long time. Si fucking paused and opened his eyes wide. Senior Ji? It's you. Although she had faced Ji Chun-yuan's death directly, but because she had never seen his body, she had been guessing whether Ji Chun-yuan was alive or not. Now that the guess has come true, she almost shed tears. Ji Chun-yuan is not dead. It's not me. Ji Chun-yuan's smile deepened. I snatched some roast chickens from you before, and they taste pretty good. It's you. Si fucking's pupils shrank suddenly, and he blurted out, a starving ghost. Although she only spent a few days with the starving ghost, she still remembers him vividly. Because she doesn't know how to cook, every time she goes to the Eternal Continent, she always prepares food in advance. The starving ghost snatched all the food that Lu Qingning had prepared for her. If she hadn't successfully practiced the technique of yin-yang and 5 elements and became an onmyoji, she would definitely beat this starving ghost violently. Yes, it's me too. Ji Chun-yuan sighed, his eyes burning. Master Wei, you are a descendant of Lord Jushin. Si fucking was startled. 9 days. Master Jushin is not the god of the Eternal Continent, but the god of the earth. Ji Chun-yuan said slowly. I can't preserve her core strength. Military Master Wei, you must find your own strength. The earth and the Eternal Continent were originally the same world. But because of many different possibilities, the future direction is different, and then split into 2 worlds. Such a world is called a multiverse. There shouldn't be 2 people with strong luck in a world, otherwise it will cause strong repulsion and lead to the collapse of the world. But after the world is divided, it will be fine. The 9 heavens goddess of the earth, the infernal demon of the Eternal Continent. In the past, 9 heavens goddess accidentally entered the Eternal Continent through the gate, and got acquainted with Wujian and Yoon-soo. From then on, the 3 people discovered that the Eternal Continent and the earth turned out to be multiple worlds separated from the same world. Jushin and Wujian hit it off and became close friends. But Yoon-soo was thinking about how to combine the 2 multi-dimensional worlds into one, integrate the luck of the world, and go to a higher world. With the help of Jushin and Wujian's trust, he designed to kill the 2 of them. But Jushin and Wujian are both the pinnacles of power after all, and they also sealed Yoon-soo before they died. The other spirit realms who were not Yoon-soo's opponents were all slaughtered. This is the whole truth of God and demon war. And it is precisely because the earth and the Eternal Continent have the same root and origin that the angel of time, space, life, and death was able to create the holographic game Eternal, linking the 2 worlds together. Ha 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 ha, it turned out to be a descendant of Jushin. Yoon-soo laughed suddenly. Okay, I have already swallowed part of Jushin's power, and with this 90% luck, I am a let's see how you become a god. Ching ching. You are behind me. Yu Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. The power on his body is huge. You are not a god. I am afraid he will hurt you. Si fucking didn't move. Instead he took a step forward. No, let's go together and kill him. She can be sure that her strength lies in Yoon-soo. She doesn't care about these forces, but Yoon-soo must be killed. Yu Xian was slightly taken aback, then smiled suddenly. Okay, let's go together. Then let's go together. Yoon-soo's expression became more and more crazy. If I can kill Jushin and Wujian, I can naturally kill you 2 little devils. Boom. Bang bang. The power exploded, and the wind roared. Disciple, be careful, the Lord of Ghost Valley was very anxious. What should I do? How can I get back King King's power? Hearing this, Ji Chunyuan also gave a wry smile. I know very little about Lord Jushin, I can only help her protect her descendants, other than that, I don't know anything. Boom. With a trembling voice, Yun-Su laughed wildly, the two of you can't beat me, so die. Crack. It was the sound of a sternum cracking. Puff. Yun-Su spit out a mouthful of blood suddenly, his face suddenly turned pale, and he also stepped back. Sci-Fi's eyes changed slightly. This time, it was not her who succeeded in hurting Yun-Su, but the goddess of death. The goddess of death attacked from behind, and Yun-Su was doing his best to resist the attacks of Sci-Fi and Uzian, so he was naturally defenseless, not even taking defensive measures. The palm of the goddess of death directly penetrated Yun-Su's body. His chest was glowing with grey dead air, which was constantly eroding the flesh and blood around him. Yunai, Yun-Su raised his head in disbelief, and finally lost his composure. How dare you betray me? Since life, death, space, and time have vanished into thin air, these four supreme laws have never been able to cultivate to the Dzogchen. Although the major of the Hall of Eternal Life is also the law of time, it is still a long way from the peak of Dzogchen. But Haney is not. As the goddess of death, Yunai is the only person who has practiced the law of death to the peak of Dzogchen after the envoy of death. That's why Yun-Su went to invite her in person. He promised the goddess of death that after the integration of the eternal continent and the new world, he would give her a godhead and make her a new god. As the first god to come into contact with the highest level, Yun-Su knew the existence of the upper world very early on. Therefore, he must merge the two worlds and go to the upper world. No one can stop his plan. After the two worlds reintegrate, there will be no infernal affairs, nor 9 heavens, and he will be the only god. As for promises, the fist is the only truth, what it is, of course he has the final say. Yun-Su's face twisted. Yunai, what are you doing? His fingers trembled and began to repair the wound, but the strength was still leaking. The goddess of death's brows and eyes were faint, her face was still expressionless, and her tone did not fluctuate. Yes, Yunai can't, but I'm not her. Yun-Su's pupils shrank, and finally realized something was wrong. He snapped, who are you? The goddess of death didn't answer him, but turned around. Your surname is Si, your luck. Good morning. It's very hard to fill in the pits. In order to ensure the quality of the ending, everyone has been waiting for a long time. Do you still have a monthly pass? It's almost 1,000. Ask for votes for Ching Ching and Your Majesty. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 988. This tone. This title. Such an expression. Si raised his head abruptly, his pupils constricted violently. You. Boom. In the blink of an eye, Yun-Su had already healed his injury. With a gloomy face and fierce eyes, he swung a palm directly at the goddess of death. The body of the goddess of death flew out and hit the wall heavily. Puff. A mouthful of blood was spit out, and the face of the goddess of death suddenly lost its color, and her breath also weakened. The Lord of Ghost Valley and Fuzang were already stunned by the scene, even Ji Chunyuan's pupils dilated instantly. The goddess of death is Yun-Su's right-hand man, and she has done a lot to bring about the arrival of the holy day. Her status is unmatched by Huangquan Ghost Emperor and Vientiane God King combined. Why did she suddenly turn her back? Okay, Yun-Su's eyes burst out with a strong murderous look, I will kill you. But such a short amount of time was enough for Si and Uzian to launch an attack. Boom. Bang bang. The power exploded, and there were many lights and shadows. Yun-Su's expression became crazy, looking for death. Si could feel that Yun-Su's strength had become stronger in this fight. She grimaced. In that battle between gods and demons, Yunsu devoured Wu Jian and Zhu Tian's strength. He has been sleeping for tens of thousands of years, and his strength is gradually improving. No wonder she and Yu Xian had only souls at the beginning, but no substance. Because they are the only descendants left by Wu Zhang and Zhu Tian, and they are also the last power. It's just that the most important power is stolen, and their power is not perfect. Ching ching, go there, Yu Xian said with a cold expression. I'm here. Okay, I fucking naturally trusted him extremely. Wait for me, I'll be right back. She withdrew and retreated, and rushed to the side of the goddess of death as quickly as possible. After quickly stuffing a medicine into the mouth of the goddess of death with one hand, I fucking paused, and tentatively asked, "Surnamed you?" The medicine did not restore the goddess of death's injuries. Her complexion was still very pale, and she responded softly, "Yes." I fucking helped her up helplessly, and immediately began to heal her wounds with divine magic. How did you become the goddess of death? From the first time she met the goddess of death, she faintly felt an extremely strange aura about the goddess of death. Yu Huixia gasped slightly, but her voice was cold. It really hurts. Yunsu used all his strength in that palm, and didn't hold back at all. If I fucking came 1 second later and did not use divine magic in time to clear Yunsu's power left in Yu Huixia's body, Yu Huixia would be directly assimilated into a puppet. I fucking's heart sank, and his movements became a little gentler. She has been fighting with Yu Huixia for more than 10 years, and she knows Yu Huixia's temperament clearly. Like her, Yu Huixia can endure pain very well. But Yu Huixia said the word really hurt now. How painful should it be? Your luck. Yu Huixia finally took a breath, her hands trembled, and she lowered her voice. I took out the introduction, you accept it? Luck is originally an illusory thing, born between heaven and earth. But at their level, they can already grasp luck. Otherwise, Yunsu would not be able to take Si fucking's luck as his own. Si fucking did not hesitate, and accepted the introduction of Chi luck. It was originally her luck. After she took it into her hands, it was as if the source of living water had been found, and every ray of luck jumped up excitedly. Yunsu could naturally feel that the luck in his body was being peeled off, and his eyes sharpened. If it comes to me, it belongs to me. How can I let you take it back? If the goddess of death hadn't sneaked up on him at the most critical moment, how could he have allowed Si fucking to regain his luck? Clang clang. The long K sword had already drunk a lot of blood, and the blade trembled, blocking Yunsu's way. Yunsu was extremely angry. Get out. Yu Xian didn't dodge or evade, but just blocked him from approaching Si fucking. Okay. Very good. Yunsu felt that the luck was losing more quickly, and suddenly laughed. It's a good thing that the luck that got in the way is gone, at least it won't restrain me from using my full strength against you. His face became more and more ferocious. Now, I will let you die first. Boom. The ground shook again, and there was no living thing within 1,000 miles. How? Yu Huixia looked pale. Is it useful? Yes, Si fucking still supported her. Stop talking, this is the eternal continent, just use spiritual consciousness to transmit sound, and I will heal your injuries. Yu Huixia coughed a few times, and for the first time listened obediently. This is not your body, Si fucking frowned. This body belongs to the goddess of death. What's going on? Well, yes, Yu Huixia said lightly, this is the body of the goddess of death, but I have successfully devoured her consciousness and soul. When Si fucking heard this, the fox's eyes lit up. It's ruthless. I like it. That is the goddess of death. In terms of comprehensive strength, the goddess of death is the first among the top 10 vicious NPCs. I'm not alone, it was Sister Ning who helped me, Yu Huixia said in a low voice. Sister Ning was swallowed by the swamp of death, but she left behind her strength. This force eroded the goddess of death. After I also entered the swamp of death, I followed this force and gave up my body and entered the body of the goddess of death. More than 5 years ago, when she knew that Si had died due to an accidental explosion and there was not even a body left, Yuhuixu finally realized that there was a conspiracy against their eternal four. Of the four, she was the only one left. Revenge. So Yuhuixu returned to Yu's house and began to retreat. She successfully improved her strength within a year and entered the Eternal Continent through the gate. But the enemy was in the dark, and she also miscalculated one thing. That is, Yunsu had already sent Meng Suanke to prepare a bait to lure her to come. She was also thrown into the death swamp. Before dying, she received the power and message left by Lu Qingning. The Eternal Four will never admit defeat. Relying on these, Yuhuixu took her last breath and entered the body of the death goddess Yunai in the form of a conscious soul at the last moment. Yunai was also very surprised at the beginning, and tried to drive her out, but she didn't succeed. She spent another few hundred years successfully devouring all of Yunai's consciousness. I met that Yuli last time. It was very critical when I was about to swallow Yunai's last sliver of consciousness. Yuhuixu's voice was light. Fortunately, she is a waste, so she didn't find out about it. Yuli was originally a pawn left by the goddess of death to deal with Si. She swallowed the consciousness of the goddess of death, and naturally possessed her memory. So she resorted to her plan and rescued Yuli and sent her back to Liberty Island, watching Meng Suanke and Yuli kill each other with cold eyes. Then, Si's hands trembled. Where's Sister Ning? Yuhuixu fell silent and shook her head slowly. Si's eyes were cold. I see. Buzz. The space trembled, and the original luck was recovered at this moment. Si shook his fingers and got up slowly. Your surname you rest here, you must take care of yourself. She turned her head again and said to Ji Chunyuan, Senior Chunyuan, please take good care of her. Ji Chunyuan stepped forward, closed his eyes, and suddenly laughed. I see. He deduced the two numbers 4 and 9, but he was not sure what these two numbers refer to, because the future is full of infinite possibilities and uncertainties. Now it seems that 4 refers to the eternal quartet, and 1 is indispensable. 9 not only refers to Si as the descendant of the goddess of 9 heavens and Uzian as the emperor of 9-5, it also represents the extreme of numbers. The number is extremely high, reaching the peak. The monk opened his eyes wide. Master, we never have more than one variable. However, as Yunsu said, after Si's luck was stripped from his body, he was not so restrained in his actions towards Uzian. Ha 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 ha, Yunsu laughed wildly in the wind. Wujian, if you die in my hands, your son will die too. I will send him to reunite with you today. What's going on? Fuzang opened his eyes wide. Luck has returned, but Qing has not become a god. There is still a lack of strength. Changying frowned tightly. The two of them can only draw with Yunsu now, and cannot seal him or even kill him. So you didn't become a god? Yunsu smiled strangely. If you haven't become a god, then you are no match for me. Get out. Boom. Crack. Ching. Uzian's eyes changed slightly, and she immediately flew down. I'm fine. Si had already stood up by herself. She wiped the blood from the corner of her lips. Ninth brother, don't worry about me, kill him, no matter what the cost. There are thousands of people behind her, and she cannot retreat. Si adjusted his breath for a few seconds, and then immediately stepped forward again. Jeju. At this moment, Bai Jinyu suddenly stopped her. Jeju, I have something very important. Si didn't look back. What's the matter? Her steps stopped, because she found that there was a force pulling her, preventing her from moving forward. Behind him, Bai Jinyu walked over slowly. Because I remembered, I lost my strength at that time because you were nourishing your soul, and your soul has been sleeping for 3 years. Si was startled. She woke up 3 years after her death. According to Ji Chun Yuan, it will take some time for the separated souls to merge into one. Because Jeju and I have the same power, I followed the path in my heart and found you. Bai Jinyu said softly, Jeju, your power is not perfect, because you have part of it is with me. I fucking stared at her closely. What do you mean by these words? What are you going to do? You stopped me? No, no. This is your power. Bai Jinyu shook his head and smiled. I will give you this part of my power now. I fucking's eyes trembled. What on earth are you going to do? What is Bai Jinyu talking about? She couldn't understand what this stupid Pixio said. Help you become a god. Bai Jinyu raised his hand and wiped away the tears on her face little by little. I am very happy to see 99 gods with my own eyes. It's just that I can't wear the little skirt you made for me for a while longer, and I'm still a little sad. There will be a lot of little skirts. Fat chirp, calm down. I fucking steadied his voice, but his voice was still trembling when he listened carefully. It's not necessary, just give me time. You see, I have grown from nothing to now. I am very good, I can accomplish anything. It is not difficult for me to become a god. Bai Jinyu tilted her head and said softly, but Jeju, we have no time. I fucking's body shook violently. Looking up, she could see that the edges of both worlds were gradually breaking apart. Some creatures have already let out the painful wails that can only be heard when they die, lingering in their ears. 2 worlds, tens of billions of lives. Very heavy. Jeju, as you said, it's worth it for one person to exchange many people. Bai Jinyu said again, besides, you gave me life. Without you, I would never have been born. After the 9 heavens goddess was wiped out, her only descendant, Si fucking, was left behind. But the Pixio family, who had been protecting the 9 heavens goddess, died completely. It was Si fucking, who was still in a state of consciousness, who separated his original power to protect the descendants of the mythical beast Pixio, allowing it to survive successfully. What's it worth? Si Fu's eyes were full of anger. I won't allow it, did you hear that? She was indeed ready to sacrifice, but she didn't think about letting Xiaobai go. No matter Xiaobai is a big brave or a little girl, she needs to take care of her. She never thought that Bai Jinyu would do such a thing. Jeju, I was the one who looked for you last time. Bai Jinyu hugged her neck, her voice was very soft. You must find me this time, as long as you call my name, I will definitely come back. Si fucking gritted his teeth. Bai Jin, you'd better be obedient and stop. Otherwise, you won't be able to get another piece of gold in the future. Jeju, don't be sad. Bai Jinyu turned into a Pixio again, only the size of a palm, and gently rubbed her neck. I'm just a little Pixio, originally born with you. Its animal pupils are bright, like the most dazzling star in the night sky, and its brilliance cannot be concealed even in the surrounding world. Si fucking was imprisoned in place by his own power. The power gathered together, and all of them surged into her body, making her unable to move at all, and she could only watch helplessly as the golden light continuously flowed out of Xiaobai's body. Si fucking's brows and eyes turned red, she completely lost control, and said sharply, Bai Jinyu, how dare you not listen to me? Xiaobai raised his fluffy paw and placed it in her palm. Just let me be self-willed once, Jeju. Si fucking looked in horror between the light and shadow. Its figure was fading little by little. It was originally the size of a palm, but it is difficult to catch it with the naked eye at this moment. Boom. The sky was covered with colorful lights, and everything on the earth that was destroyed was revived at this moment. Ji Chun Yuan raised his head and murmured, I have become a god. There will be an episode of Xiaobai and Xiaoyu. Just to explain the title of the book, everything was taken away. Kinking was taken away from everything, luck, body, strength, etc. The return of the gods returned. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 989. At this moment, in the Great Xia Empire, the Western Continent, Dongsang, Freedom Continent, and other regions, a large piece of light could be seen surging from the sky. It is crimson, as gorgeous as the morning glow. The light illuminated the gray sky, like a fire lit in a lantern, brilliant. Jushin is the god of the earth, and when her power returns, the earth will naturally have a vision from the sky. These rays of light dispelled the darkness brought by Yungsu, and the continent broken by the fire of the meteorite was slowly recovering. Both Yan Baikan and Ling Hanyi were shocked. The two looked at each other and blurted out, "It's Ching Ching." They are Sci-Fi's parents, and they have a tacit understanding with her. Although separated by a world, they can also perceive it. "Ching Ching," Dean Dongfang asked anxiously, "what's wrong with Ching Ching? Is this celestial phenomenon good or bad?" "No accident, Ching Ching should be promoted to the spirit god realm." Yan Baikan raised his head and said worriedly, "But Hanyi and I don't know what happened." "Spiritual god realm," Dean Dongfang was taken aback, "since Ching Ching has become a god, can he kill that Yungsu?" No one has the answer. On the side, Xiaoyu frowned, and drops of blood suddenly fell from the corner of his lips. Yun Fengzi saw it, and couldn't help but turn pale with shock. "You." "I'm fine." Xiaoyu shook his head slightly. With indifferent eyebrows, he pushed Yun Fengzi away and walked to the other side. With one hand, he wiped away the blood from his lips, and with the other hand, he took out a kit that was placed close to his heart. Xiaoyu quickly opened the kit and took out the contents. It is golden hair, which reflects brilliant colors in the sun. This is Pixio's hair. Pixio is full of treasures, even a single hair can protect others. As the last Pixio, Xiaobai's profound power is naturally stronger. Xiaoyu remembered very clearly that it happened a few months ago. Xiaobai reluctantly pulled out the fur on his body with his claws, tied up the fur with a ribbon, and tied a special bow. It was teary, but its expression was very serious. Such a cute contrast made him couldn't help but squeeze its little paws. "Don't pinch me," Xiaobai hummed twice, becoming more serious. "This is my hair, you hold it well, it can protect you. When my strength improves, this will be more effective than the talisman paper made by the supreme Onmyoji." At that time, he raised his eyebrows, but still stretched out his hand to touch its somewhat bald tail. "Does it hurt to pull so many?" The tail was touched, and Xiaobai suddenly jumped up. Its ears were burning, and it was furious. "Don't touch my tail. You big villain. I'm going to sue the dog owner for bullying me." After all, Pixio is a mythical beast. After eating a basket of gold, those plucked hairs will soon grow back together. Seeing that it was fine, Xiaoyu always carried this kid with him. And now, these Pixio hairs are turning into untouchable light and shadow bit by bit, until it completely spread out and disappeared in his palm. Xiaoyu quietly looked at the empty palm, and slightly raised his head. "Ayu," Xia Yangkai ran over because he was worried about Xiaoyu. She paused and froze. You cried. "What's the matter? What happened?" Xiaoyu blinked, and seemed to be a little confused. "Did I cry?" He raised his hand and pressed where his heart was. Sour, swollen, inexplicable. It was empty, as if something had been gouged out. Boom. The thunder continued, and it was still rolling among the clouds. Countless golden lights and shadows submerged into Sci-Fi's body, and the aura on her body was still rising rapidly. It caused the heaven and the earth to tremble, and all things bowed their heads. This power made Yunsu feel scared and threatened. But with Yu Xian standing in front of Sci-Fi, he couldn't break through at all. "The deep love between master and servant is really touching," Yunsu sneered, and began to provoke Sci-Fi. "How much I want such a heartfelt beast that always dedicates itself at critical moments." Ah! Nine Heavens goddess is not as strong as him and Wu Jian, but she has a Pixio clan under her command, which can gather enough luck for her. At that time, he specially encouraged Wu Jian, so that the two of them could kill together for 9 days. Because the goddess of 9 heavens relies on the Pixie family to absorb more luck from the universe, and then give it back to the earth, which will make the world level of the earth surpass that of the eternal continent. And because the eternal continent and the earth are originally the same multidimensional world, if the level of the earth is raised, then in turn, the eternal continent will be nailed to the world's lower world forever. But Wujian is too honest. Since Wujian was unwilling, he had no choice but to kill them both. He will not share the fruits of victory with anyone. You Junior, don't be fooled. Yunsu turned back again, squinted his eyes, and said with a smile, she has withdrawn the power of Pixia right now, and her luck has been greatly improved. Sucked away by her. Why not? Yu Xian raised her eyes and finally spoke, I will give whatever she wants. Yunsu was irritated instead, you are stubborn and unreasonable. He let out a long roar, and concentrated on dealing with Yu Xian. On the ground, Sci looked at his hands in a daze. She stretched out her hand to catch the ball of light and shadow, but she couldn't catch anything at all. These visions of heaven and earth seemed to be mocking her powerlessness at the moment. Except for Ye Wanlin, Xiaobai is the person who has been with her for the longest time. Yes, it is a human, not some guardian animal. She never regarded Xiaobai as a pet, but as her best partner and closest family member. She saw it in the great sunset forest and carried it with her all the time. When she secretly eats fried chicken, she will also give it a few pieces of gold, and sit together by the lake in the sunset forest and wait for the sunset. Sci never thought that one day Xiaobai would leave her. 2.5 years ago, she woke up in Linkhung of the Great Xia Empire, alone, and Xiaobai was the first to find her. The bond between them has already surpassed blood kinship. Sci's eyes were a little red, and his eyes were frozen. She suddenly remembered that it hugged her leg and rubbed it back and forth, acting like a baby. Juju, I'm hungry, I want to eat gold. Thinking of it again, it looked up majestically and proudly, huh, I'm the big pixie. I still think of it retorting angrily, nonsense, I can't eat it, I'm a little girl. She became a designer because she had more inspirations when making skirts for Xiaobai, so she would occasionally go out to work to earn rations for him. I made a lot of little skirts for you, each one is beautiful and unique in the world. Sci said in a trembling voice, I also prepared a wardrobe for you, made of gold, you must like it. Open your eyes and look at me, Fiju. Bye, Jin, you. No one answered. When the light and shadow completely dissipated, a figure seemed to emerge in front of Sci's eyes. The girl waved at her, smiled sweetly, and bid her farewell. Sci's body swayed. Yu Huixiu regained some strength and quickly supported her, Xiao Cheng. I'm fine. Sci smiled and shook his head, stood up, what can I do, I. As soon as the words came out, there was only choking. She raised her hand to wipe away her tears, but wiped more and more. What a useless sacrifice, Yunsu joked, but don't worry, you're all going to die. This seed has decided that no one will be left alive. After the two worlds merge, this seed will create the world and create people. These new lives will not hate this seed, but will only worship and be grateful to this seed. All the power of faith will belong to this seed, ha 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 ha. Boom. Yunsu's smile stopped abruptly, and his body suddenly flew upside down, like a meteorite, hitting the ground heavily. Boom. The ground then collapsed. Yunsu's head buzzed for a moment, but before he could react, there was another bang. Exploding like a burst. One foot stepped on Yunsu's ribs, and stepped hard. Ching ching. Disciple. The pupils of Fuzang, the Lord of Ghost Valley and others shrank, and they watched the scene in front of them in shock. Sci was just using a violent style of play to deal outrageously, without any complicated moves. Punch after punch. One foot after another. Bang bang bang. Yoon-soo just uttered a word, but was interrupted by another punch. Within 10 seconds, his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he kept vomiting blood. You're looking for death. Yoon-soo finally came to his senses. He roared angrily, and directly used divine magic to make his soul go out of his body and recondense into another body. After recovering from his injuries, Yoon-soo was more fearful than ever. If he failed to return to defense in time just now, he would not be surprised that he would be beaten to death by Sci-fucking. Ninth brother Sci-fucking raised his eyes, his pupils were filled with madness. Kill him. Uzion just responded to her words, okay. Boom. Clang clang. The light of the sword and the shadow of the sword are majestic and murderous. Under the full attack of Sci-fucking and Uzion, Yoon-soo retreated in embarrassment. He also suffered more and more injuries. Even though he condensed several bodies again, he couldn't resist this fierce attack at all. Hey! The long K sword pierced through Yoon-soo's chest. Puff! Yoon-soo opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. It was also because he avoided the key part of the heart in time that he did not die under this sword. How so? Yoon-soo was terrified. He spurted out a big mouthful of blood again, and quickly stepped back. The power that Sci-fucking and Uzion erupted at this moment is stronger than that of Wujian and Jushin. But half of Wujian and Jushin's power is on him. He is going to lose. No. Absolutely not. Two ignorant juniors. Yoon-soo was extremely angry. If you don't let the two divided worlds merge into one, you will never even think about going to the upper world. He clearly called for the arrival of the holy day for the sake of the world, but Wu Jian and Zhu Tian were short-sighted. Even if the two old worlds are merged into a new world, they, as the spiritual realm, will not collapse with the collapse of the world. But Wu Jian and Jushin both refused. No matter how many mortals there are, how can they compare with gods? As long as the world is reintegrated, he will be the only god. Even if I die, I will let the two worlds merge. Yoon-soo laughed hysterically. Since you cherish these mortals so much, then I will let you watch how they die. Ugh. Suddenly, a powerful force erupted from him, and he rushed straight to the edge of the world. Boom. A huge roar sounded, and under the urging of this force, the fusion speed of the two worlds suddenly accelerated. Ninth brother, Yugo Sci-fucking shook his fingers, his brows and eyes were cold. Leave it to me. The two have a good understanding, and Uzion can naturally feel that the majestic power in her body is still rising. Without saying a word, he withdrew backwards, darting away, and came to the place where the edges of the two worlds meet. Where they meet, the edge of the world has already shattered. A very tragic scene. Until Uzion appeared. Someone, there are people. Who can see clearly? Who is it? Could it be that the immortal cultivator from my great Xia has come out? Then don't we need to leave? Is it possible to go back? Everyone was sitting on the aircraft, which had already flown out of the planet at this moment. They could see the two worlds merging, and they could see the shattered fragments of the planet. The aircraft that had been escorted were affected by these planetary debris, and soon crashed without a trace. Fear, and nothing but fear. In front of the vast universe, human beings are as small as mayflies, without any power at all. And now, there is actually one person standing in the middle of these two worlds. His figure is slender and tall, although he is still very small in the face of the two worlds, but he has the aura that one person can reach thousands of troops. It was as if a towering mountain stood in front of him, insurmountable. Everyone's nerves began to heat up, and their breathing became short of breath. It's your majesty. Xiao Wenjian opened his eyes wide and lost his voice. It's your majesty. Sci-fucking, Uzion, and the million vanguards did buy them enough time to escort more residents away. The three families and the four alliances are responsible for staying behind. When you get close, you can naturally see the whole picture of the man. With one person and one sword, Yu Xian stopped the two worlds that were merging with absolute power. Successful, Xiao Wenjian said loudly, "Your Majesty blocked it, it was His Majesty." He knew that there was nothing that Emperor Yin could not accomplish. Little devil, seeing this scene, Yun Su sneered, "Do you think you can really stop it? This is the power of the world. Okay, you block it, after a while, you will be torn apart by the power of the world, you poof." Yun Su's head was slapped away by Sci-fi, and a mouthful of blood flew out with broken teeth. He knelt on the ground, and suddenly found that his body could not move, being imprisoned by some terrifying force. Yongsu Sci-fi pulled the dragon bird's feather from his hair, his words were cold, "Killing you, I alone will be enough. There will be no more sacrifices. I protect you, and you protect the common people in the world. Good morning." The episodes are all sweet. There are still 2 chapters left, the ending is over, and I will ask Ching Ching for a monthly ticket. Thank you for your support. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 990. Boom. The thunder that had hovered in the depths of the clouds for a long time finally fell. One after another, they all hit Yun Su's body. Yun Su had just repaired his body when he was thrown into the ground by these thunderbolts. These thunderstorms contain the power of countless laws, constantly eroding Yun Su's body. He roared furiously, got rid of the entanglement of thunder and lightning at the fastest speed, and flew back tens of meters. However, in the next second, with a bang, he slammed into a transparent barrier. The back road was blocked. Yun Su raised his head suddenly, looked at the girl in disbelief, his pupils constricted violently. "You." The rules of divine magic, Sci-fi walked in slowly, smiling coldly. "You might as well guess, if you and I both have the rules of divine magic, is your magical rule still useful?" After Xiaobai chose to give her the power, she finally had a complete inheritance memory. The evolutionary ability of an evolutionary comes from the power of a series of laws. As the supreme law of God and magic, it is natural to use the power of other laws. Her ability to copy is not copying, but awakening. These abilities were originally possessed by her. Yu Xian is not a pure space evolutionist, what he possesses is the power of continuous inheritance. After the power is unsealed, he can easily travel between the two worlds. The reason why Yongsu discovered the existence of the new world of the earth is also because Yongsu went to the new world under the leadership of Wujian. Only Wujian has the ability to cross and shuttle multiple worlds. Yun Su has coveted Wujian's ability for a long time, but he couldn't get it despite his hard work. Sci-fi's fingers came out like lightning, and directly pressed Yun Su's head. Still in an extremely violent way, she lifted Yun Su up and knocked him to the ground. Boom! 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 One sound after another, the methods were extremely ruthless. Yun Su is at the pinnacle of the spiritual god realm, and his body training has naturally reached the pinnacle. He has long been invulnerable to weapons and poisons. But under Sci-fi's outrageous violence, he was already bleeding from head to toe. Severe pain penetrated the whole body along the Tianling cap, and Yun Su screamed, "Stop! Stop!" Hearing this, Sci-fi did let go. But before Yun Su could catch his breath, his chest felt cold. Chi La! The dragon bird feather pierced his chest, and the blood gurgled down, which was shocking. Yun Su spat out a big mouthful of blood, his face turned pale as paper in an instant. He wanted to get out of his body and continue to use divine magic to forge a new body, but he was horrified to find that he was actually imprisoned. The rules of magic. Also at the peak of the spiritual god realm, when Zhu Tian still had half of his power swallowed by him, he was actually suppressed by the new god Sci-fucking. How can this be? Sci-fucking, Yunsu finally panicked and shouted, "Stop! I'll make a deal with you." At this moment, he no longer had the contempt, and arrogance towards ants that he had before, and he looked embarrassed and panicked. Sci-fucking didn't stop. She pulled out the dragon sparrow feather, which was stained with Yunsu's blood, and the blood was golden. The next second, she backhanded Long K Ling into Yunsu's abdomen. Yunsu opened his mouth, and countless blood gushed out. He fell to the ground, and this time he didn't even have the strength to kneel down. The power that belongs to God is dissipating. At the same time, the breaths of Sci-fucking and Uzian became stronger. The power of the infernal demon and nine heavens goddess that was plundered by Yunsu was returned at this moment. Yunsu clutched his chest, his face was as pale as paper, and his clothes were soaked in cold sweat. No. No, no. After finally gaining strength, he actually left him again. Crack. The lute bone was also penetrated by the dragon bird feather. Sci-fucking's expression was calm and unhurried, as if she was just embroidering a piece of clothing. "Don't kill me," Yunsu said hastily. "If you don't kill me, I'll tell you how to go to the upper world. The variety of the upper world is beyond your imagination." The reason why he wanted the holy day to come was because he had successfully communicated to the upper world during the years he was sealed. Facing the huge temptation from the upper world, Yunsu naturally couldn't resist. Although he is the god of the eternal continent, he is only a self-appointed god after all, not a true god. If he can merge the two worlds and create the world, then he will become the only god and have an audience with the upper world. Sci-fucking turned a deaf ear to it, and made two more clicks, this time directly crippling Yunsu's legs. Yunsu let out a terrific scream. Pain and fear strangled his heart like a cold snake, and he could feel the passing of life. Sci-fucking. "Do you want to be aggressive and kill everything?" Yunsu roared as if breaking down. "Are you really willing to hide here? When the catastrophe comes, all the middle worlds will collapse. What are you doing now? What's the use? At that time, everyone will die, you frogs in the well without vision. Kill me, will you feel better?" "How could I kill you?" Sci-fucking finally spoke, her voice was very soft. "I will not let you die so easily. You should try what is called torture for 100 generations, and you will never be reborn forever." Yunsu's eyes suddenly widened. In an instant, he understood the meaning of Sci-fucking's words. Sci-fucking actually wanted to throw him into the shackles of time and space. Yunsu's eyes glared, his canthus were about to split open, and he yelled frantically, "No!" As soon as his voice came out, Sci-fucking mercilessly threw him into the space-time vortex. Yunsu struggled desperately, but couldn't get rid of the strong sense of weightlessness. He does not want. Don't want. Don't worry. Sci-fu looked at him condescendingly, and smiled slightly. "I went in together, this time I will go in with you to have fun. Only this time, she is Daezu and Yunsu is fish." Yunsu's eyes were scarlet, he stretched out his hand, trying to use his own strength to escape the space-time vortex that kept pulling him. Boom. Sci-fucking directly raised his foot and kicked him in. Then she herself jumped into the space-time vortex. The vortex closed, and the wind was silent. Good boy, the Lord of Ghost Valley, who was finally able to move, ran forward, anxiously. "My good boy, why did you go in by yourself? Gigo, if you care about it, you will be confused." "Don't worry." Fuzang pressed his shoulders and shook his head slightly. "She knows best what Kinking's strength is now, and she won't take it too seriously." Yes, the Lord of Ghost Valley slapped his forehead and gave a wry smile. "You are right, my heart is still on the verge of exploding." Fuzang, Gigo Changjing turned his head, his voice lowered. "We are going to help Xiao now. Yunsu is nothing to be afraid of, the most urgent thing is to stop the fusion of the two worlds." When things got to this point, how could he fail to see that after Yunsu initiated the fusion of the two worlds, even Yunsu himself might not be able to stop it? I understand. Fuzang lifted the spear, with sharp eyes. Let's go. The monk clasped his hands together and looked at the edge of the broken world with some concern. Master, can we succeed? The upper world, that Yunsu said. It's not that easy for the upper world to intervene, otherwise it would have been done by itself. Ji Chunyuan smiled slightly. It will be successful, there are many of us. This is never a one-man battle, everyone is working hard. At this time, in the shackles of time control, time is confused and space is reversed. The shackles of time and space are one, and only a few seconds have passed in the real world. Hundreds of reincarnations, hundreds of tortures. In each life, Yunsu died in extreme pain. But in reincarnation, he has no memory, and he can recall everything only before dying. He couldn't stop the reincarnation, he could only watch helplessly as Sci-fi killed him in the reincarnation after life. He even dies differently in each life. In one life, he was swallowed by the endless sea, and the sea water submerged into his ears, nose, and throat, so that he had no chance to break free, and was drowned for life. In one life, he fell into the swamp of death and experienced what it means to feel like a second is like a year, and finally suffocated to death. In another life, his body was torn apart and reduced to ashes bit by bit. Yunsu didn't know how many reincarnations he had gone through. His spirit had completely collapsed and he just wanted to end his life. But Sci-fi didn't stop, and still carried out every reincarnation. Boom. After an unknown amount of time, Yunsu finally landed on the ground. He struggled to open his eyes, his voice was hoarse, and it was difficult to speak. Sci-fi, you killed me. Killed me. Boom, Sci-fi stepped on his ribs. How is it, how does death taste? She made Yunsu feel the pain of Ye Wanlin, Lu Qingning, Nian Yan and everyone else. But this is not enough. Master, the monk was startled, his soul. So that's it. Ji Chunyuan's eyes moved slightly. He has been sealed for thousands of years, and his soul power is extremely huge, and the Wei army master relied on the reincarnation of hundreds of generations to wear down his soul power little by little. Now, Yunsu's soul is so weak that even a spiritual cultivator in the spiritual realm can't compare. Yunsu also knew this. With a pale face, he panted heavily. I actually lost. I actually lost to you, a yellow-haired girl. The Nine Heavens goddess led the Pixia clan, and Wu Jian and so many envoys were no match for him. But Sci-fi shattered all his dreams by himself. Feeling the soul spread out bit by bit, Yunsu rolled over in pain. No. I don't want it. Don't. Shua. The sound stopped abruptly. The breeze blew, and the sky and the earth shook. Yunsu died completely, and even his soul power was completely dissipated. All the luck, power, and other things that were swallowed by him are also returning at an extremely fast speed. In the sky of the eternal continent, the darkness receded slowly, the sun rose, and the white clouds rolled. Dawn came again, repelling the eternal darkness. Sci-fi raised his head and looked at the blue sky. Various voices kept circling in her ears, and she heard many people smiling at her and waving at her. It's night. Turning the lanterns. Xiao Qing, you did it, this time it is really unparalleled in the world. It's dear Lime. Wow, Xiao Qing is really amazing. If only I could learn to cook sometime. It's a good year. Sister Qing Qing, come on. It's by Jinyu. Jeju is the best. Thousands of vanguards are cheering. But when she suddenly looked back, she found that many people were gone. No. Still have a chance. Sci-fi closed his eyes, feeling the full strength in his body. She has a chance to bring Nian Yan and the others back. The game cabin of eternity retains their bodies. Yunsu is dead, and their consciousness can return. But what about Ye Wanlin, Lu Qingning and Bai Jinyu? Si clenched his fingers tightly, and suddenly heard another loud roar from the sky. Boom! The monk was shocked. No, the fusion of the world is still going on. Can't stop. Si raised his head abruptly, moved his body, and in the next second he came to the edge of the two worlds. Yin Baikan, Ling Hanyi, Yun Ying and others were all there. Ching Ching! Little junior sister. Seeing that she was safe and sound, everyone felt relieved. Ninth brother, Si tilted his eyebrows. How? The trajectories of the two worlds have already converged. Yu Xian's eyes sank slightly. In half an hour, they will completely merge. Si eyes also darkened. Is there any way? She thought quickly for a second. Father, mother, master, brothers, and sisters, you all go down and escort the others away. Once the world collapses, the Holy Spirit realm will also be seriously injured. She doesn't want to see more sacrifices. Ching Ching, you. Yin Baikan shook hands, and he turned his head abruptly. Okay, let's go down, Hanyi. Ling Hanyi took a deep breath. Ching Ching. It's okay, Mom. Si smiled. I've always been lucky, and this time it will be fine. Without waiting for the others to refuse, she waved her hand and sent them back to Free State. At this moment, Ding Dongfang and Dugu Changfeng are escorting the last group of people to evacuate. Outside the planet, countless aircraft circled in a circle. At this moment, everyone can see two figures in front of the huge world. They couldn't see who it was, but all were in awe. Warn! Warn! It is detected that a huge energy explosion is about to erupt. Everyone please leave the solar system quickly. Warn! Warn! It is detected that a huge energy explosion is about to erupt. Everyone please leave the solar system quickly. The system sounded an alarm. Let's all go, Ding Dongfang yelled. You can't waste Ching Ching and Xian's hard work. Go. Buzz. The aircraft started, and one by one they departed. Ding Dongfang was unwilling to leave, but he had to. He stared at those two figures, tears streaming down his face. My child. Suddenly, Ding Dongfang's eyes widened, and he lost his voice. That is. I saw that the light between the two worlds was flourishing and dazzling. This is creation, world. Good morning. It should be the end of the main text the day after tomorrow. Ask for another wave of monthly tickets. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 991. The light is getting more and more dazzling, even the eternal sun can't compare. There was no explosion as expected, nor cracking as expected. The white light is bright and holy, which makes people's hearts sway. Everyone looked in the direction of the burst of light, and couldn't help but widen their eyes. What is that? Ching Ching, is it Ching Ching? His Majesty is still here. Ding Dongfang stared at the fragments of the planet caused by the fusion and impact of the world, and his nerves were burning. The broken edges were restored at this moment, and although the two worlds were not separated, they began to run side by side. The eternal continent and the earth, which were supposed to be the same world, split into two multiple worlds, and reintegrating into the old world is indeed a way to gather luck. But the price is the lives of the two worlds. Yun Su regards these beings as ants, so he chose this way. But there is another option. When the fortunes of the two diverse worlds blend together, they can run in parallel and form a theme. There is no need to collapse, just one more channel. This passage connects the two multiverses. From then on, there is no need to go to the eternal continent through the eternal game cabin, and the residents of the two worlds can go back and forth at will. This is creation. Creation has never been about destroying the old world and creating a new one. But on the basis of the old world, bring a new era. Si felt a very strange feeling, Her body was light, as if she could leave the whole world at any time. This feeling filled her whole body and awakened every cell in her. It is a great temptation. But she quickly recovered from this feeling. I fucking blinked and saw the two worlds slowly separate. Ninth brother, do you feel it? Yeah, Uzion raised her head slightly and smiled. I feel it, it's amazing. He turned around, raised his hand and touched her head, but I don't miss it. What he has now is the best. I fucking asked softly, did we win? Uzion hugged her tightly, and said in a low voice, we won, ching ching, we won. She felt hot tears hitting her body from her neck, and her body trembled slightly. Yin Huang seldom shed tears. Because he is the belief of the 5 states of Daxia, he cannot be weak. The few times he shed tears can be counted with one slap. She once saw him facing a book full of names of dead soldiers, tears falling drop by drop. I also saw him hugging her and said lightly that he had no family anymore. I fucking patted his back, rubbed against the tip of his nose, and smiled. The sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, Great Xia and 5 states are still there. Why are you crying? Don't cry. This is what he once said to her. Yes, it's still there. Uzion raised her head from her neck, her eyes were gentle, they're all there. Ninth brother, go, let the aircraft return. I fucking held his hand, let's go to the eternal continent and bring back the consciousness swallowed by Yungsu. She can save them. And Uzion clicked on the headset, and began to order, all return to the voyage, and everything will remain as usual. Feng San's excited voice came from the receiver, yes, Brother 9. Follow His Majesty's orders. Attention everyone, Dean Dongfang's expression became excited, the crisis is over. The crisis is over. It's time to return. Our home is still there. His voice was carried through every aircraft through the master controller. Everyone couldn't believe it at first, then wept with joy, hugged each other and cheered. You can go home. It's so scary, I don't even know what's going on. There were cheers one after another, and the white aircraft flew towards the blue planet again. That is their home. They don't have to migrate, they come back. Although the great crisis has been averted, the scars cannot be wiped away. In the Eternal Academy, there are still 190,000 game cabins without any movement. Their hearts are still beating, but they are unconscious, not much different from vegetative people. Is there really no way to save them? Dean Dongfang looked sad, they are all. Did it die? The main control screen suddenly issued a rapid alarm sound. Dean. Consciousness has been detected. The deputy dean suddenly raised his head, overjoyed. Look, Dean. Consciousness. Dean Dongfang immediately threw himself in front of the screen, watching the data on the screen closely. Brainwave link successful. At the same time, on the land of the eternal continent that had experienced the Great War, the disappeared figures reappeared. They all looked around in a little confusion, not knowing what happened at all. The old man is still alive. The elder of the Yin family looked at his hands. The old man remembers. Dad Nian Yin leaned on Yin Yaonian's body. Are we going to hell? Why did you come with me? Stinky boy. Yin Yaonian didn't have time to think about what was going on, so he slapped Nian Yin on the head. Why didn't you go offline urgently? Nian Yin held his head. Dad, stop beating, it hurts. I still have the final exam for Xia University. You beat all my brain cells to death. How can I take the exam? You still remember the exam? Yin Yaonian was still angry. Go back and reflect on me. Just when everyone was puzzled, a soft voice rang in their ears. Everyone, thank you, we won, we can go back. Nian Yin recognized the owner of the voice. He raised his head and lost his voice. Sister Ching Ching, you won't also. Before he could finish his words, his eyes became dark, and his consciousness was successfully withdrawn into his body. In the darkness, voices flooded in like a tide, and the game cabin vibrated crazily. Medical staff. Medical staff. Here. Emergency cardiopulmonary resuscitation is needed, hurry up. Don't waste time. Hasty footsteps. The sound of people talking. Alarm sounds from various instruments. Kukaki Minjio seemed to have slept for a long time, and his consciousness was still a little bit unclear. She didn't know where she was now, and her memory was still stuck in the scene when Yunsu raised his hand, causing the consciousness of tens of thousands of people to shatter. Bang! The door of the game cabin was opened. A dazzling light shone in. Kukaki Minjio subconsciously raised her hand to block it, but was hugged tightly by a body the next second. The man's breath was scorching hot, but his hands were cold and trembling slightly. Kukaki Minjio's body froze. She had never been so close to anyone else. When she struggled to open her eyes and saw the person holding her clearly, her body became even more stiff. Kuchimu Minjio showed a blank expression on his face, hesitating for a while before asking, "What are you doing?" "It's nothing." Yuan Mingchi loosened his arms, a smile appeared on his handsome face, and his voice was very soft, "Baki misses you very much." Hearing this sentence, Yamata no Orakai was very aggrieved, and started to argue in a chattering voice. Its 8 tails were wrapped around Tiankanji Unjian, shaking its head desperately. "Nonsense, the only thing it misses is Tiankanji's sword." Kukaki Minjio sat up, "It's a lie." Yuan Mingchi didn't refute, his smile deepened a little, "I lied." Kukaki Minjio looked at him expressionlessly, "Don't laugh at me like that." "Huh? What? I am a little scared." "Daughter." On the other side, Fred hugged Odile and cried loudly, Odile, who was almost thrown down. 3 seconds later, she smiled, "Father, you have spoken out your true thoughts?" Oh, Raphael ran over in a panic. Seeing that Odile turned her head and looked at him with a half-smile, he stopped in her footsteps and said seriously, "Ahem, Miss Odile, are you okay?" Odile tapped her head and said thoughtfully, "I seem to have had a very long dream." The moment Yunsu waved his hand to make their consciousness disappear, it was actually just a few pains. She didn't know anything about what happened after that. But since she can regain consciousness, it proves that Si fucking won. Uncle, Yin, great elder Si fucking also ran over. She paused, choked up, and said softly, "Everyone is here, that's good." For her, death is not a terrible thing. The scary thing is that everyone around you is dead. What's even more frightening is that you are the only one who survived. Si fucking looked at the crying crowd, and quickly wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. She still made it. The consciousness that Yunsu devoured was using the rules of divine magic. Naturally, she can also use divine magic to release their consciousness. When the consciousness returns to the body, they can wake up. But some people still can't come back. Those who were corrupted by the puppet army and killed by the ghost emperor of Huangquan. They have completely slept forever in the eternal continent, and merged with all things. Sister Ching Ching, Nian Yan also hugged her arm. "Whoa, I haven't graduated yet, my dad keeps hitting me on the head." As soon as he finished speaking, Si fucking slapped his head without hesitation. Nian Yan was wronged, "Why did you hit me too?" Si fucking crossed his arms and glanced at him, "Do you dare next time?" "Don't dare," Nian Yan said immediately, "I won't dare again next time." Boom. He was hit on the head again. Ang, Nian Yan was sad, "Sister Ching Ching, why did you hit me again?" Si fucking looked at him coldly, "Is there a next time?" Nian Yan. He shut up. Teacher Siu pushed through the crowd and walked over, and said in a hoarse voice, "Then, where's Xiaobai?" In a word, the surrounding air was silent. Seeing Si fucking slowly retracting expression, Xiaoyu's eyes also changed. After a long silence, he spoke with an erratic voice, "She's gone, isn't she?" The pixie hair scattered. Xiaoyu had already realized this terrible fact. But he didn't want to admit it. Pixio is a mythical beast, how can it disappear so easily? But Si fucking's acquiescence made him believe it if he didn't believe it. Xiaoyu twitched the corners of his lips and seemed to be smiling, little liar. He also said to let him be its shit shovel officer, take it over? I'm sorry. Si fucking tightly clenched her hands hanging on both sides. She took a deep breath, raised her head and looked at Ji Chunyuan. Senior Chunyuan, you have a solution. Not a question, but an affirmative. As the envoy of the soul god, Ji Chunyuan can even save her and Yu Zion, so there must be a way to save Xiaobai. As expected of a military advisor, he is really smart. Ji Chunyuan sighed softly, I do have a solution, but it is very harsh. After the death of the Nine Heavens goddess, the Pixio family should have been extinct. You used your original strength to preserve the last Pixio in the world. The tomb of the gods is actually not the cemetery of the gods, but the place where Xiaobai, the Pixio, was born. Xiaobai broke out of the shell, and after another 1,000 years, he became an adult Pixio. At this time, it had no memory, but because of its connection with Si fucking, it was able to find Si fucking. I don't care about the price. Si fucking smiled lightly, if you need anything, Senior Chunyuan can just tell you. You need to redifferentiate your original power. Ji Chunyuan said, build a body for it, and its soul is in your original power. Okay. Si fucking's tense expression finally relaxed, it's a very simple thing, I can do it. Ji Chunyuan hesitated to speak, you can forcibly draw out the original power, you. Aju and I share the same luck and strength. Si fucking interrupted him lazily, I have nothing short of strength, and I will be able to cultivate again soon. Taking out part of the original power to reshape Xiaobai's body, this will not hurt her too little. But as long as Xiaobai can grow up steadily, all of this is worth it. She has never suffered from any kind of pain. No matter how painful it is, it's enough to get Xiaobai back. Shaping the body is the first step, but its soul has been severely injured. Ji Chunyuan said again, it needs a very stable environment to nourish its soul. After a pause, he looked at Xiaoyu and smiled, you are very suitable for this job. Xiaoyu raised his head suddenly, how to do it? I can do it. Ha 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 ha, you don't need to sacrifice your life. Ji Chunyuan waved at him, come here, I'll teach you, your majesty and the military advisor have other things to do. Xiaoyu pursed his lips and followed up, okay. Si fucking did have important things to do. Endless sea, turning the tide at night. Dead marsh, dear lime. Come. Yu Zion naturally knew what she was thinking, and held her hand, let's go to the endless sea. Yun Su is dead, and Yu Zion has inherited all Wujian's power, which is the belief of hundreds of millions of living beings in the Eternal Continent. All the disturbances in every corner of the Eternal Continent are under his control. His consciousness has merged with the entire Eternal Continent. Lord of Eternity. The Eternal Continent is him, he is the Eternal Continent. He can swim freely in the 10 fierce places and will not be troubled by any laws. The once sinister, turbulent Wujihe is just an ordinary spring in their eyes now. The two easily entered the bottom of the sea. Si fucking swam to the location in his memory, sister. Good morning. I hope I can write the finale in one chapter tomorrow. Thank you for your support.